Well, wait, Dave. We are.
Didn't you say that?
Yeah, special meeting.
Joseph.
Okay. Yep.
You want him
Liz.
to confirm?
Good evening. Today is August 6th. This is a rescheduled workshop committee meeting. We'll start out with a silent prayer. Dr. Schwartz, would you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there any public speaking?
Don't see anyone.
Okay. Are you speaking?
Later.
I know you will. Okay. Item number 1, Committee of the Whole, Informal Youth Workshop Summer Program. Nairi Toussaint.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Board of Ed Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. I'm just going to give you a really quick overview of the youth workforce summer programs that we have going on in the district. Okay. So first we have, in partnership with the city, we have 26 students who will finish participating in a 6-week program this Friday. On the right, you will see the city departments that were willing to take on an intern or two this summer. Is that me? Okay. Next, we have our healthcare internship programs. We have 35 students who participated in various healthcare facilities such as St. Mary's, Waterbury Hospital, and McCall Behavioral. Students participated in a 1-week rotation at the facility of their choice where they gained hands-on experience the week that they participated. Next, we partnered with the Literacy Volunteers of Greater Waterbury. We had 6 students who volunteered to work with them. However, that was placed on hold at the moment because the director has since resigned, and we hope to pick that back up once I connect with someone again. And lastly, this is just to show that we do offer our students the opportunity to apply to the Northwest Regional Workforce Board, and we offer whatever the city Parks and Rec Department has out there. Once these applications come out, this is sent to the schools. It's given to students on Google Classroom as well as advertised on Parent Square for students and families to be able to apply to. Any questions?
And Nairi, can you just talk a little bit more about the internships our students have taken part in with the different city departments? I think you had that on there earlier, but just a little bit more depth about what that is, because it's been such a positive program.
Well, the different city departments, some of them are the finance department, human resource, IT, public works. They just get the hands-on experience of what our actual city departments are going through. It's not that they're just sitting at a desk. They are in the trenches with them, learning, seeing. If they have the opportunity to do some sort of hands-on, the departments are allowing them to do so as well.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I think it's great. I actually had some kids over at Waterbury Hospital, so it was a lot of fun. Just curious, how many slots are usually available? Because I know it says 26 students, but how many?
We had 26 slots available this year.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then how often, I know that you send it out on Parent Square, but how often does it get promoted? Like,
So the city internships or all of them?
all of them? Just-
So we do career interest inventories with the students in school. So a lot of times we try and, reach out to those kids who have the interest in certain fields. Some students, if they're not, filling those slots, we would just make sure we put it out there on Google Classroom and Parent Square saying first come, first serve. But again, if we know of students that are showing an interest in a certain field from freshman year on up, then we want to make sure we tap into them and say, hey, there's this opportunity.
All right, so, but it's promoted on Parent Square a couple times?
Yes, schools should be promoting it on Parent Square and in Google Classroom as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because kids say, oh, I didn't see it, I didn't see it.
Yes, it's there. The unfortunate piece is that, for the healthcare facilities, 35 students and, the facilities only allow a certain number of slots.
Yeah.
We have tons of students that want to participate, especially in the healthcare facilities, and with 35 slots, it definitely is
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah, I had 12 slots available. I had 6 students come this year, so I was a little disappointed, but we had a great time. And then the other question I had was, we have that teaching track, right, where kids that are looking to become teachers are involved.
Educators Rising?
Yes, Educators Rising. How many of them are involved in like after-school program to kind of like help kids in tutoring or anything? Are they participating in that?
So I don't have that information right now, but I can get that to you.
Okay,
I'll look into that.
all right, thank you.
Commissioner Lopez, you said you had 12 slots and
Yeah.
only 6 participants. Did you guys reach out?
Promote- I have to be honest, I don't know what we did internally to promote that. So I definitely will be doing better next year internally for the organization. But
Okay.
definitely with the Parent Square, like most of the kids were saying, oh, I didn't know. So I was just curious.
So we did have all slots filled. And once school ends, then the WIB takes over because this is in collaboration with the WIB, with all the paperwork.
Yeah.
So once school ends, we had the 12 students, the WIB takes over, and then the WIB finishes all the paperwork with
Yeah.
them. So at that point, if the WIB needs us, then they reach out. But if they don't reach out to say, hey, we're missing this paperwork or whatever it may be, sometimes it might be they need a social security card or birth certificate, and that's something we can't help with. But we could help with a transcript, address, anything like that. Anything that we could help school-related, we definitely do to help get that student's file complete.
I would agree with that. There was a couple of students that couldn't join because they didn't get their paperwork in on time.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Toussaint.
You're welcome.
Request approval of a facilities use agreement with the University of Connecticut at no cost. Ms. Francis. Frennis. I got, what's her name on my brain?
We're good.
I see Adam back here.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. The Education Department respectfully requests approval of a no-cost facilities use agreement between the city and UConn Waterbury. Under this agreement, Waterbury Public Schools robotics teams will have access to the UConn Waterbury Robotics Institute to practice and collaborate for upcoming competitions. The agreement expires on December 31st, 2026.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. I thought we signed this already, back a while ago. I did see one notation for a change, but I thought we signed
I
this a while
didn't think we
back.
did a facilities use. I thought that had to do with the grant that we brought that through.
Maybe it was. Okay,
Winter,
because we've already
February,
used
March.
this. We've been
Yes.
using it for months.
Yes, we have been. We haven't used it as much as we should.
That is true.
But I believe UConn was really looking for this
No.
facilities use.
Okay,
for.
that makes sense. Maybe it was the grant. I just knew we signed up to something a while back, and the fact that we've been using it, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I
you.
apologize, Ms. Frennis.
No worries.
Interim superintendent's update. Dr. Schwartz.
Thank you. Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, and esteemed commissioners. Quick update tonight. We had a wonderful summer school graduation on August 4th. 6 of our high school students, comprising of Kennedy High and Waterbury Arts Magnet School, received their high school diploma because they took the extra initiative to graduate this summer, taking additional courses. So we want to congratulate them. I know that Commissioner Lopez and President Hernandez were able to join us there along with the mayor's office. And there was an amazing speaker there from WAMS who talked about her own journey. And like many times in adult ed or enlightenment or State Street, you know, you have all these amazing students doing amazing, who overcome some tremendous things in their lives just to get to that finish line of the graduation. And I want to highlight a video of that student. Maybe we can try that again. Some audio.
School had always been very hard for me. I struggled a lot once my grandmother passed away. I almost dropped out because originally I couldn't even finish summer school and I wouldn't have enough credits. But I ended up getting Ingenuity. I went to 2 Ingenuities and then I came to summer school and then I ended up passing. My father, he didn't graduate high school. So he pushed me very hard to actually graduate. It's hard, but it is worth it.
She was a great speaker, and that video came courtesy of our new communication specialist, Hector Molina, who is on the next slide there, and he's sitting right over here. Hector joins us from, he has a vast array of experiences, 8 years of experience as a TV news reporter, most recently at WFSB Channel 3 here in Connecticut. He also has experience freelancing with educational officials. He was born and raised in Meriden, Connecticut. We won't hold that against you. And he graduated from the University of Connecticut with degrees in both journalism and communications. And he just wants to remind anyone, if you have a good story about Waterbury students, teachers, faculty, or anything to do with the Waterbury Public Schools, please let him know. And he's going to really up our game on our social media feeds and also tell the great stories that I know the board is aware of, but not necessarily the general public is. And he is really excited about joining us. And I don't know if we're okay with him maybe saying a few words and having him come up. I don't know if you're ready for that, but yeah. You're a communication specialist, so you got to deal with it. Yeah.
Sarah, excuse me.
Yep.
I did have the honor of meeting him this afternoon, but I just want to let you know it's his birthday today.
It is his birthday today. It is his birthday, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We are going to let him go right after this. So.
I'm sorry. Shut my mouth.
No worries. Thank you. Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Commissioners, Superintendent. Nice to see you. Even though I saw you all day, but it's okay. Well, thank you guys for giving me a couple minutes here to talk. I mean, not even going to take a couple minutes. It'll be very quick. Basically, what I just wanted to say is, you know, in speaking with Interim Superintendent Schwartz about this position, and something I even said in the application process, you know, I think with this district specifically, in this role, I want to promote that the success of Waterbury Schools speaks louder than the challenges that we face. And a video like that, and the TV reporter in me is looking at it, I'm like, oh man, the audio could have been a lot tighter. I could have shot it this way, could have done this way. But, you know, I wanted to get something out, and you know, hearing that student speak, it spoke to me. And I wanted to act on it. I was like, there's a story here. Let's do something with it. Yeah. And that's, in that video right there, that's something I just put together in about a half hour. Mm-hmm. So imagine what we could do in a planned event where, you know, we kind of have students highlighted and, you know, some teachers or faculty give me a little bit of background on the students. We could do that times 10 and create a lot more content that looks just like that, promoting positivity, and not just students, faculty, teachers. So, you know, just like I said in the meeting the other day, if you guys have a story of anything, you know, no matter how big or small, please let me know. And I mean, that video right there is about 40 seconds. And, that short, concise content, that's what really drives numbers on social media, not only with parents and teachers, but with specifically students. And if students are looking at the social media pages, then their parents will. So if, students, we get the student audience, then you'll just see more parents and more followers on the social media page, which will be great. And, more interest in Waterbury Public Schools and, more positivity. So that's just kind of my plan going forward. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of changes and road bumps along the way, but I'm here for it. So if you guys have a good story or event or any way I could help you guys do your jobs, just you know where to find me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy birthday.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay. So you saw some of this earlier, but we did have some high school students from various schools throughout the district participate in a one-week paid shadowing experience at Waterbury Hospital, where they had the opportunity to observe hospital staff across a wide range of departments, including pharmacy, food and nutrition, cardiology, and surgical labs. In addition to clinical exposure, students completed a Stop the Bleed course and gained insight into emergency medical services and EMT operations. Similarly, we also had students at the McCall Behavioral Health Network at St. Mary's. 4 students took part in that program, while 18 students were at the St. Mary's program, 14 of whom participated actively throughout the week. Students represented Crosby, Waterbury Arts Magnet, and Waterbury Career. 2 of our students, Janelle Morris and Chanel Patterson, were selected to speak on behalf of the group and share their experiences from the week. It was an amazing opportunity for our students. I want to send out a quick congratulations to an administrator on the move. Miss Hannah Sam, principal of Kingsbury Elementary School, has successfully completed the 093 superintendent program at Central Connecticut State University. As part of her work during the program, Miss Sam collaborated with the Waterbury Public Schools and our cabinet members and myself to bring new opportunities to students to the greater Bridgeport Partnership, a true reflection of her dedication to educational growth and community partnerships. Well done, Miss Sam. We are incredibly proud of you. Happy to announce that 25 of our schools have been selected again for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program for the upcoming school year. We put in for all of our schools to receive this, and 25 were selected. This wonderful program enables us to continue offering our students fresh fruits and vegetables as a healthy snack option during the school day.
Nice.
SEPTO, that's our special education parent-teacher organization, is getting off the ground and running. And so, as you notice, if you follow our social media, that's a plug. If you follow our social media feeds, you'll know that we do post their SEPTO events on there. And they did have a Feed Your Soul event on July 29th, where several community partners attended, providing vital resources and guidance to families seeking services for both their children and themselves. And they've done they also did an additional event at Rotella, which they were doing yoga on the lawn as well. And not last but not least, that's next. On August 2nd, Madre Latina also hosted their scholarship luncheon at Amalfi's, where they honored 4 students, recent graduates, with their Achiever Scholarship. These remarkable students were recognized for their dedication, perseverance, and academic excellence. Congratulations and best of luck on your adventures. And we are very proud and happy to be great partners with Madre Latina. They offer amazing scholarships for our students. And finally, we have an announcement to make. We are going to be out with attorney Joseph Britton for approximately 6 weeks here, because he is entering into the JAG Corps as First Lieutenant Joseph Britton. We're proud to share that Attorney Joe Britton has recently been commissioned as a First Lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve Judge Advocate General Corps. This new role reflects his deep commitment to public service and helping others, both in our schools and now in our service to our country. Well done, and I will not say G.I. Joe.
All right. I used to love that program, Chad.
Come say a few words.
Come say, yeah. Should I say G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Juanita.
He can handle the truth.
I used to like that TV show.
Me too.
We'll see if he can live up to it.
Thank you. President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Commissioners, and Superintendent. So it was a few years ago that this board took a shot on a 26-year-old kid out of law school to come be the Board of Ed attorney here in Waterbury, and I hope I've been making you guys proud, but I'm hoping that with this new honor, I can continue to make the city of Waterbury proud and come back with some new skills and hopefully keep protecting the city and our district. But I want to thank you all for your support, and Dr. Schwartz, President Hernandez, everybody, the cabinet, you guys have been great, and happy to take this next step. It's going to be a quick 6 weeks. Just don't get in a lot of trouble while I'm away. Don't know what to do there, but I'll be down in Fort Benning, Georgia, for the Direct Commission Officers course. So it'll be boot camp. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll keep you guys updated. But thank you again for all your support. It's been an honor to serve this district and to serve this board. So thank you all very much.
Great, thank you.
Good luck.
And last but not least, I apologize, President. Just one last shout out to keep following us on social media, as we mentioned earlier. A lot of these, just so you know, my reports are usually spread apart every 2 weeks with our new communications specialist working closely with Zakai, who is phenomenal also in the communications department. A lot of these stories are going to be out in real time because that's the point of social media, is to get it out in real time. So unfortunately at our meetings, a lot of them are weeks or 2 weeks old. But if you follow us on social media, you'll get it in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Lieutenant Britton, we would all like to wish you the best. Have a safe 6 weeks. Committee on Finance, request approval to apply for the National School Lunch Program. Oh, sorry. How could I miss you?
I'm
Oh,
short.
my goodness, you're short. Operations Department updates. Mr. Albini, I'm going to get something from your wife, I already know it.
Thank you, Madam President. President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Board of Education Commissioners, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. I'm glad and proud to present some of the accomplishments the operations and facilities have performed, undertaken, and succeeded with in trying to help our schools in a variety of ways. So I'll have each one present on their particular departments and offer these points of success, and then welcome some questions as well. To start off, we'll have Interim Food Service Director Adam Shaban regarding some of the progress this past year.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Commissioners. Can I have the button? Thank you. Oh, yeah. So, just to go over the programs that we have here, we have our breakfast program, our National School Lunch Program, our summer programs, which provide meals at various camps, parks, and summer school programs. Superintendent Schwartz mentioned our fresh fruit and vegetable program, which has been a great success in introducing different fresh vegetables to, I think it might be the iPad, to the different students. We have an after-school snack program and a supper program, which services the 21st Century, the SDE, and other approved programs. We do various catering and field trips. This year, we have served approximately, on average, 5,300 breakfasts, which is an overall increase of about 100 meals per day, and approximately 13,500 lunches, which has shown to be about a 500 meal per day increase. Unfortunately, however, given unforeseen equipment failures, we had 3 walk-in freezers fail this year that needed to be replaced at approximately $50,000 each, plus higher than expected inflation costs that affected not only our food costs, but also repairs and all these and other supplies that we have. We did have a loss. We did show a loss this year of $400,000. However, all of that money is covered by our fund balance, which was $2.5 million. Looking forward, however, we have our central kitchen has improved over the last few years, and we're seeing some of the benefits of that. We're able to pivot easier with the meals that we're serving, with our production, and keeping our costs under control as much as we can. We've utilized student surveys so that we can adjust to the various preferences that the students have. With the diverse community that we have, it's tough to please everybody all the time, but we do our best, and we're moving towards that with those surveys. Again, with our central kitchen, the fact that we prepare it at our central facility means that we don't have an outside company putting our food together, which means we have control over the presentation, the freshness, and the quality of the meal, of the product that's going into each individual meal for the pre-plate schools. Looking forward, we have various goals and initiatives that we'd like to implement. We'd like to increase participation through various aspects, including updating equipment, expanding our salad bar program, which we opened to great success at Generali, Wham's, and Wallace. Oh, not Wallace, I'm sorry, North End. And we are looking to expand it at least to 2 more schools and more as we find the availability in terms of space at the different locations. We are also looking to make those meals part of the reimbursable meal so that we can benefit from having that to the program itself. We've also updated our bidding process to include local bids. Last year we had Arethusa yogurt being showcased in our salad bars and in the meals themselves. And this year we are doing a Connecticut produce bid so that when in-season crops are available, we'll be able to buy them from local farms. In order to mitigate the inflation costs, we have our central facility also gives us the ability to buy in higher quantity to keep the costs down to attempt to mitigate some of the inflation issues. We also have had the benefit this year on our regular commercial bids. There's a new distributor who's opened up in Waterbury itself and has become very competitive with the pricing, which has driven the pricing down to counteract some of that. So we should see a significant decrease in our food cost for next year. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Van Stone.
Well, let me tell you, with this agenda tonight, if you're paying the babysitter by the hour, it's going to be expensive night. The slide you gave us with your fiscal standing.
Yes.
And you do 3 numbers and then tell us you're in the hole of $500,000. You did some explaining, but on that slide, I'll tell you, I almost fell off my chair. These slides really need to be able to tell us more. It's what we take away from the meeting. And what is this $2 million you're talking about that offsets this?
So over the years, the food service department, every meal that we serve is reimbursed by the federal government at over $4.50 per meal. So our cost of the cost of that meal, including all of our labor and all of that, is subtracted from that, and what we are left over is what we make. Over the years, we have been able to run in the black to a level where we've been able to have money on hand in the event we run into situations like this.
Okay. Telling us about an offset like that is very significant, and we really need to have that information in front of us, because that changes that entire slide. Okay, I saw that and I couldn't believe it. We see it during the year, but I didn't realize it had reached the $500,000. The offset does help. The next thing I had for you was, what is a pre-plate school? I have no idea what that is.
So the city has two types of schools that we, as far as the lunch program is concerned. We have full operating kitchens, which will take the meal and cook it completely. A pre-plate school is usually our smaller schools, for example, a Hopeville school, for example. Smaller kitchens, they don't have the room for the equipment that is required to make an entire meal. So we give them unitized meals that they just have to warm up and then put some of the sides along with it.
Okay. And it's saying you're going to try some variations. What? Because I know the kids aren't eating the food. It's the bottom line. So what are these variations that you're talking about on student preferences?
Well, yes, the preferences that might appeal more to, especially with what we consider a side, a vegetable or something of that nature, spicing them up a little bit in terms of adding a flavor profile that might be more appealing to the student to get them more interested in actually trying it.
And you also mentioned outside vendors.
So prior to the central kitchen, we had outside vendors that created these meals for us.
So that's behind us now. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the last thing I had for you is the last time you were here talking to us, I had asked a question about how much food is getting tossed in the garbage, and we had no idea how much is in there. And I asked if there's any means to try to get a handle and make that tangible for us. And the reason I asked that is because there are some school districts that actually recycle the food waste. And they're actually making money off food waste by selling it off to be recycled. And we have a lot. We have a lot. That's all I hear about is the kids tossing it. I mean, I know kids that don't even bother with the cafeteria, they just bring a lunch every day. But not all kids can do that. And we really need to start taking a look at that. I asked about that, whatever you were here 6-8 months ago, and I didn't hear a thing back. But there's real good reasons why I'm asking this. One, we need to know. And two, there's a potential that we could have it recycled and make money off it. So we really need to start looking. I'm glad you're going to outside bids and that sort of thing. We've been hearing for years on this board, there is no bidding process in Waterbury, but we can. In certain cases, we definitely can start looking around. We showed it with some curriculum a couple months ago. So we really need to, utilize that as well. But I really need you to start looking into this waste.
Sir.
And, especially if we could do something about it that the kids don't waste. But if they are going to waste, at least maybe we could do something good for the
in terms of
environment.
In terms of that's what I'm speaking to making it more palatable, is to reduce that waste cost.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
And just to add on to that, thank you, Adam. I think also when there is equipment within the lunchrooms, the tables, when we need new tables, we're able to use the funding from the fund balance to be able to pay for, if you've seen like the new tables at Moby, for example, with the Wildcat logo, things like that. So that fund balance isn't just for the food preparation; it's also for the entire cafeteria and the ambiance with it. And just, I know it's not the presentation, I know we have 5 of them, so I'll make it quick. Nick, do you want to just say just a brief conversation? I know you have on the docket, you're talking to a food waste company, but just, I know this isn't about tonight, but briefly, because I know, Commissioner, you did ask about it, we did look into it, and Nick has made, some contact, just so you know. Part of that is about legislation that actually has happened and occurred, but some of it is also could eventually result in what you've talked about. So I don't know if we need to talk about it tonight, but I want to let you know we have looked into it, and maybe we'll just leave it at that, and we'll move on.
Commissioner Orsel and then Commissioner Arlen.
Just to clarify something, Tom. Every year, we went out to bid for everything for the food service department. We went for vegetables. If we had so much stuff that we went out to bid for, we did it in 2 days. So everything that those food service department bought was always went out to bid. There was nothing that ever never went out to bid. And getting back to the pre-plate stuff, all the pre-plate stuff was all bid for years and years until the kitchen came up, and it's nice to have that control too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Arlen? Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick question about the surveys. I just wanted to know do you get a lot of feedback from the students? Because Commissioner Van Stone did ask one of my questions, but as far as tailored the foods, because some children aren't eating, and just wondering, are they effective?
We did get feedback from a decent amount of feedback from them, which directed us towards the types of changes that we made on the fly this past year to try. It was in direct. A lot of those changes were in direct result to the surveys. So once the surveys came back and we said that they said that the vegetables, they needed something else, we started adding things like a little bit of garlic, a little bit of peppers, and things like this to sort of appeal to the students a little bit more. So that is directly from the survey.
And just so you know that it's been very effective, the School Health and Wellness Advisory Committee that President Hernandez and Secretary Serrano-Adorno and Vice President O'Brien have sat on. I think we had a very productive year where we actually, food services we talked about 3 strands of the district, and health and wellness. Food services was 1 strand that had a standing agenda item, and these surveys, the design of the surveys, the implementation of the surveys, and the adjustment of what we were providing to students was all discussed throughout the year. You saw that increase of 500 per at lunch. I've got to believe a lot of that has to do with the addition of the salad bars we were able to put in. Some of the things that we learned through the School Health and Wellness Advisory, how much restriction they have on what they can serve, and how it is probably very, I hate to say it, but yeah, it's in some cases bland compared to the foods that we may experience at home, even the amount of salt they can use in their foods and things like that most of us would possibly use at home. And so they are restricted a little, so they're trying to adjust as best as possible on student surveys. I know we made some great progress this year in adding those salad bars and different options for students. We're pretty effective according to the numbers, but it's not something we're going to stop looking at. And we obviously, we've got a lot of feedback from the students. We're going to keep trying to do the best we can to offer as many options and choices that they seem to like, and try to get rid of the things that they just seem to not like. And that actually happened this year. There were lunches that they just completely got rid of, according to the surveys.
We wiped completely off the menu.
And
Students said they didn't like it, so we said, you know what, if 3/4 of the student population doesn't like it, why are we putting it on there?
Exactly,
So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lopez?
When are the surveys done?
So this past year, I believe they were done in January. So we give them a little bit of time to get back into the swing of school and things like that. And then we use the beginning of the year. We have to remember that, as Commissioner Orso was saying, our bids go out at the end of last year, and now we have new vendors with new product and things like that. So we want to show them what we have first and then see what it is, because it does change based off of the, for example, this year, our longtime pizza vendor, Nardone's Pizza, did not win. So now we have a brand new pizza for Pizza Friday. So, I'm hoping that they will appreciate this new vendor a little bit better. It's a high quality pizza. It was one that we were always interested in, but they never won the bid. So this year they won the bid. So we're going to hopefully the students will notice the difference as well.
And then one follow-up question. I know that the food is very bland because of restrictions that we have, but we know that the kids are not eating it. They're complaining. Actually, every time we see a kid, that's the first thing when you say, what can we do to improve schools? They say better lunch.
Yeah.
So can we provide spices so that they can add to their?
And again, yes.
No,
and that's
at all? Okay.
We try to, the spices that we add are the ones that we can based off of the USDA guidelines, and only in the amount we can. So, you know, it's there, we try our best, but again, we have to remain in compliance with the regulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Hunter with the transportation update.
President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Intern Superintendent Dr. Schwartz, Commissioner, good evening.
Good evening.
Waterbury Public Schools 2025-26 status. Can you change that, Nick? Transportation, Durham School Services. Waterbury Public School transport over 70% of all regular education students, approximately 15,300 students. Durham transport 2,100 non-public school students. The bus route total 125, bus driver total 126. The staffing, all routes are covered by a driver. No second run is needed for any schools. 4 transfer driver yard on premises available. All drivers will be background and fingerprinted checked. New activity buses. There are 4 buses designated for activity sports only. CDL with passenger endorsement can transport. Parent hotline, 2 direct numbers, 203-405-0632 and 203-405-5490, will be activated throughout the year. The hotline hour will be open from 5:15 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Students are returned to school if a parent or guardian is not at the bus stop to pick up K and grade 1 student for the first 2 weeks of school. All buses are equipped with interior, exterior recording cameras with audio, bus tracker GPS, and a child safety check mechanism. All incident can be reviewed by the bus company and the principal, the school principal. Regular meetings are held with Education Department and the Durham staff. This year, the startup meeting will be set for August 13, 2025. Transportation, our all-star, this is our SPED busing. Waterbury Public School transport over 100% of all special education students, approximately 2,000. Bus route total 60, bus driver total is 64, and all buses have monitor on board. All buses are equipped with safety harness, some with 5-point harness, integrated car seats. All special ed students are met at their home for the ease of a pickup and drop-off with door-to-door service. Parent hotline. All-Star Waterbury phone number will serve as their hotline, 203-753-8366. 2 roller lines, 2 additional lines. Hotlines will be 5:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. All-Star for this year is transporting students from Thomaston and Plymouth, as you know. And these numbers for Thomaston will be 860-283-0922 from 6:15 to 9 o'clock, 2:45 to 2 o'clock, 1:30 to 5 o'clock. All-Star Plymouth phone number would be 860-585-0011 from 5:45 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Transportation, state, private, public, parochial, or magnet. Waterbury Public School also transports students to state and private parochial school, state school, Caner Technical School. The private schools are Brass City Charter School and Children Community School. Parochial is Catholic Academy of Waterbury and Our Lady of Mount Carmel School. And also public ACES at Chase. Out of district magnet school this year will be Thomaston, Plymouth, and Terryville.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Lopez.
All right, I just had just a couple and probably some really weird ones, so bear with me. All right, did we get the activity buses, are any of those for WAMS at all?
All the high schools, yes. It's 5. So we wouldn't have to take the regular buses off the road to do a sports trip. Those buses would transport the students to their activities.
So is there a bus that goes from Wams to their district school for sports?
Oh, yes, our regular buses. We have the buses, the regular bus, they get off at the school to play sports in the afternoons.
All right, but there's no additional bus, because I know some of the students had mentioned that they get kicked off the bus if there's, there's no room for the WAMS kids.
If there's an overload, Durham would send another bus to pick up the extra overload.
I think the confusion with that was the communication from the school of WAMS, not necessarily the bus transportation. So in that situation, there was some miscommunication from the school
Yes.
itself.
Yes,
The students do have access to a bus to get to their schools, which was a little different than what we were told. But maybe, Jeff, you can go into that.
The bus that was Northeast Transportation bus that was overcrowded, they were put off, not our regular buses.
Okay, all right.
Because some of the kids walk downtown to the green and try to get on the bus to go somewhere else, but that bus was full, the city buses, not the school buses.
All right. And then I have a random kind of question. So there's a parent in the district, their students are not enrolled with us, but they were looking for busing outside. Do you ever do anything for those that are unconventional, like educational, like homeschooling kind of parents who need transportation for kids?
No.
No? Okay, just curious. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. Jeff, there's one of the slides where it talks about the pre-K and grade 1 students with, if there's not a parent at the stop, that, they'll return to the school. Is there a particular reason why it says for the first 2 weeks of school? After that, we just leave the kid at the corner?
No. It's just the first 2 weeks of school, they return back to their home school. After that, right now, the students come, after 2 weeks, the kids will come down to the Welcome Center.
Oh, okay.
If they're left over, they come to us.
Okay, I read that sentence and I was like,
They're on their own.
they're on their own. Do we get any reimbursement for the private schools that we transport for?
That's a question for Doreen.
No,
She said no.
we're required to pay to transport them.
Wow, pay for special ed and transportation?
I know the special ed, and I know the special ed is a big chunk of our
We're
budget.
required to pay for the private.
I didn't realize that we didn't get any sort of, any money back for this. That's interesting. Especially seeing Brass City wants to sue us, but we're going to give them free busing. Thank you.
I have one question. Oh, go ahead, let's try. I think she was first. She was first.
Just one question. For the parent hotline, I noticed that there's 2 direct phone numbers, and then hotline hours are from 5:15. Okay, now that I read it, I see it now. But those are 2 different lines?
One is line for Durham, and there's a line for All-Star. Is that what she meant?
No.
Commissioner,
For
the
Durham.
Durham, those are 2 lines that are active, and they're 5:30 in the AM in the morning till 5:15 in the morning to 5:30 at night.
Okay.
And then All-Star has their hours and numbers as well. And this year, we added the Thomaston and Plymouth Terryville numbers because we're transporting the magnet school kids to Rotella, Maloney, and Wams.
I see. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Vice President Brown.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the presentation. 2 questions, really. I'm interested in exactly how many schools provide transportation for preschool students? And the second question I have is, how should the parents know about these phone numbers? Are they in English, Spanish? Do we give them in different languages? Where are they posted? So 2 questions. First one
They're going
about-
to be posted on our website. We do that every year. We put those numbers out there. We'll send out Parent Square messages as well,
Okay.
social media. So we'll continue to do that this year as well.
Okay.
Preschool, we don't.
Well, there are busing for preschools, I believe, in the pre-K to 8 schools. That's what I'm trying to get at. So do we provide pre-K busing just for the pre-K to 8 schools?
When it comes to
Most of the pre-K-8s are walking schools, actually, so they actually, most of them don't have the pre-K busing, but off the top of my head, unless it's special education, of course, but if, off the top of my head, the programs that still had busing were Career Academy and possibly Sprague, but I will,
And Kingsbury.
Kingsbury as well, and I will double check that with Maureen Bergen. We'll write it down in our notes and we'll email the group. I'll email the group by Friday, the actual answer, but off the top, those are the three that come to mind that have pre-K busing.
Because I just reiterate, I've said this before at meetings, that is a barrier for many parents getting their children to preschool. And if the state wants universal preschool and we're pouring a lot of money into it, I think we should really consider some options for transportation for our preschool programs, because I know many parents who are not able to provide that transportation. So, I mean, I've heard of parents, having a baby, getting on a bus, crossing town. I mean, it really is a hardship for many parents. So I'm going to say that again. I think if we can look at, even get a cost estimate of what it might cost to start the ball rolling, so that we could seek for some transportation funds included in the early childhood system, I just think it would help our parents. So I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Jeff, how much does it cost to add one bus? It's over 50,000 now, right?
Yeah, well,
So it's about 75?
close to that.
Close to 75,000. So as we, Commissioner, as we go through the new budgeting process, because we're going to start early. I mean, it's really right around the corner for the upcoming year anyways. We start in early December, January. And so as we not just look for our new funding for the not this school year, but the next school year, and as we look at grants and what the Office of Early Childhood is providing, I think we'll keep our eyes out for any opportunities to increase those costs. I know over the years, some of those transportation opportunities have been cut. They weren't cut for this year, but they've been cut over the years, as I remember, because of the 75,000 a bus. And so you're right, it is a barrier, but if it's something we want to prioritize, we get through the budget process.
Well, and it also gives us an opportunity to advocate on the state level, because I think if they want this program, they're going to have to understand that transportation should be included. So it's a lobbying tool as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Orso and then Commissioner Arlen.
Hi, Jeff. Quick question. I saw on the report that we have enough bus drivers, but how has it been during the year? Is it a large turnover back and forth? I get a kick out of these little signs on the side of the road, bus drivers, school bus drivers.
You applying, Rocco? Are you applying?
Yeah, right.
Yes, they stay consistent all year. Last year was one of our best years, so they stay consistent. Well, driver come and go, depending on, it's a big market now.
Yeah.
So if All-Star wanted to steal a Durham driver, they will offer more money. So it's like a bidding war right now.
And maybe I will apply. Thanks, Jeff.
That's probably a good time to introduce, Nick. We kind of lined things up for this year to be the last year for all contracts. So can you just say something briefly about that so the board is aware of what this year means for us?
Sure. So Durham's contract ends 2026, June 31st, 2020, June 30th, 2026, and All-Star, and we're going for an extension, if you remember, an amendment for Ambassador to go, and they'll all expire at the same time. We're hoping that we get some activity and some new bidders here. It's a big market. Some may only bid on one, whether it's the wheelchair transportation, very fragile with Ambassador. It may only be All-Star for SPED, or only for SPED, I should say, and then there may be only for regular transportation. But that is a problem, and we're hoping that when some companies, and Durham was just purchased by someone, so they're bought out by I Squared. We're hoping that proves good for us. We don't know if they're bidders. It is an investment group, so that does concern me a bit. But drivers has always been our issue, Commissioner Orso, is just can't get enough drivers and they don't last. And we have a lot of late run buses, we have activity buses, we have club buses, we have tardy buses, we have detention buses, we have sports. It just is difficult to get drivers out of different runs, if you will. It is very difficult.
One other quick thing, and good luck, as Jeff knows, good luck at getting other bidders, because
Well-
it's been hell for the last 30 years when I was in there.
It
We had
has.
nobody to bid, and I was even questioned by the state about bid rigging, because they all had their certain areas, and they weren't going, and then Durham's the one that broke that years
Well,
ago.
let's not discourage
You know?
bidders. Let's-
No, but I'm just saying,
let's-
I
let's
just hope
say
you-
it's a great market, and
I
we're
just
hoping we
hope,
get a lot
I just
of
hope you
bidders.
get them, I really do.
Yeah, I think this year we will.
Good.
I think it'll be more than one or two bidders this year.
Good.
Commissioner Arlen? Just really fast, I know I asked this question again and before, and I'm going to ask it again, 'cause I believe it's important. The response time for parents, is there a way that you monitor the response time to get back to parents? And if so, has it gotten better?
Yes, it's gotten a lot better.
Can you-
My assistant and myself, we respond, the first 2 weeks of school, we just can't respond right away to all
Right,
parents. But
right.
as September rolls along, we get to return every phone call to the parents.
Okay, thank you.
We try to stay on top of that, but we know how important it is, and
Absolutely.
parents want information.
Sure, thank you.
Commissioner, to your point, I certainly like to see better response on the bus company's part as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like when a parent calls me and says they're not answering there. So that's very frustrating. And I do want them to send emails out, parent square messages, something, telling everyone a bus broke down, we're going to be 20 minutes late. It's always been something we advocate for, and it's certainly something that's going to come up in our interview when we get our bidders, and certainly look at all those, what we want in this next contract, not just transportation, but what we want when you can't provide. So we're going to be very vigilant with that.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Mr. Berry, Dan Berry with our safety.
Look like him.
Zuda.
He is here. Oh.
Dan.
I know we're both bald, but
I'm vindicated.
See, I
Growing
did
some hair
the
there.
same too. That's right. In that case, we'll have Mr. Zuda with computers. Technology.
good evening, President Hernandez. I'd like to wish you a belated happy birthday. Vice President
Thank
Brown,
you.
Commissioners, Dr. Schwartz. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you guys about the Computer Technology Center and what our mission is. Our mission is to empower students and staff through exceptional technology support and training. Our objective is to enhance learning and operations with reliable, secure, modern technology. Some of the key initiatives that we undertook this year was a Chromebook and laptop distribution change. We put in a resilient fiber network and we upgraded the wide area network. We put in a Cisco switch replacement project. Current projects we're working on is a document scanning project, the copier and print management that's coming up for bid at the end of the year, and we're always continuing to do the work on security with Mr. Berry over there. Voice over IP is coming up for bid, and some classroom audio upgrades. Some of the challenges that we always have is identifying, securing funding to sustain student Chromebooks and network infrastructure. Some of the core functions of the department is project management, where we plan and execute technology initiatives. The infrastructure, where we manage servers, databases, and the network. Network security, which we have to protect all of our equipment against malware and unauthorized access. Software support to assist with the educational and administrative software. Operational management is regarding ensuring device security, maintenance, and backups, and then support classrooms, the back office, and front office operations. This is just a list of all the core technology functions that the department's responsible for. I won't read them just for the sake of time tonight, but you guys have them in your presentation if you wanted to review them. Some of the responsibilities of the department, IT services have become almost like a utility, right? So it's essential for infrastructure, supporting student learning, the business operations, and security. We're integral to all departments. We power the classrooms, the back office functions, the front office functions, all front office interactions. We simplify employee access and critical tools to systems. We talk about multi-channel communications. We enable staff and students to connect through software as a service platforms and portals. We're responsible for web, email, personal devices, and all Waterbury Public School devices that are on the network. And we're always driving digital initiatives, like by keeping pace with evolving technologies, the needs, and innovation. So this is the Chromebook and laptop distribution. So last year we shifted from a classroom-based model from a one-to-one program. Schools now manage the 20,000 device Chromebooks and 18,900 students and 2,600 staff members. This was driven by the reduction in the federal and state funding. If you look at the picture on the right-hand side, those were students that we had interning. They were there repairing Chromebooks for us that were damaged in the classroom and put them back out into production. The interns repaired over 1,500 Chromebooks last year. Over the last 3 years, they repaired 9,100 in cost savings and accountability. I work a fire. Somebody shot once the fiber out in the street, and severed it, and we were down for 2 days at one of our schools. So now with the resilient fiber network, all that traffic would be automatically rerouted, and we don't have to worry about it and keep the school up. This was funded 90% by E-rate, so very little cost to the district to do this. It's scalable. It's ready for AI, virtual reality. It's ready for cloud applications and equitable access. So. We just completed a Cisco switch project, total cost of $1.86 million. If you look at some of those pictures, we had a rat's nest of wires. We've kind of cleaned all that up. We've color-coded all the fibers. So for all of our different virtual LANs, we have white for security, blue for students, green for admin, yellow for cameras. So we've been able to organize that and do all 88 data closets in 33 schools. Like I said, $1.67 million was funded by E-rate, $186,000 was covered by the 10% by the federal local budget. We are working on a scanning project right now, so the timeline is to launch in early fall of 2025. That's really going to be just to get the contract in place. We're going to take and digitize over 8 million copies of paper that we have stacked everywhere in these file cabinets, and we have rooms and rooms of all these files. Digitize them, index them, and this way you could easily search. So if you're looking for a document on an employee or a student, you search into their last name, date of birth, any key index field, and you'll be able to find that information on them really quickly. Email it out. It's very secure. It's going to be user-based, so people who need access will have access. People who don't need access will not have access to any of the documents. Some of the departments we're covering are special education, human resources, human capital, the records department, grants, and a few other departments, school inspectors. And the benefits, again, are just that rapid record retrieval and this reduces the storage costs.
And Will, that's part of the bonding?
Yes, that is being funded by the Chase.
Certain people around here might be interested to know how much we're paying for that, if anything. So why don't you just briefly talk about that?
Yeah, the project's going to be about close to $1 million. It's going to be covered by the Chase bond, the renovation bond. So, okay. It's because there's no room to move all those file cabinets over to the exchange place when we move. So it was something that we looked at a few years ago. We didn't have the funding for, but now we'll get it started, and then we can always scale it up. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So more funding becomes available. We find out there's cost savings in this, then we can just start rolling other departments, other schools into it. So I think there'd be a lot of benefit there. Once people start using it and seeing it, they're going to really love this project. I talked about the copier and print management that is coming up for bid. We have 186 copiers, 230 printers that are under management right now. We are due for an RFP or hopefully an amendment to see if we can renew that. We've printed over 100 million copies in the last 5 years, so the software tells us there's a lot of printing that's happening. We're trying to reduce that cost. Talked to Dr. Schwartz the other day. We're looking at removing the 230 printers in the classroom where we can to reduce costs a little more, have everybody print to the copiers, because printing to the copiers, you're saving a ton of money. It's like 0.07 cents a printed copy versus printing to a small printer is like 30 cents or 35 cents per copy that you print. So we're trying to drive everybody to that. We have secure printing. It's follow me printing, so you badge in whatever school you go to and you'll be able to print, release a pew. Nobody can see your documents unless you've badged in. They're not released to the public, so if there's anything important or private, it's still protected, so you don't really have to worry about it. So that's the key, is to trying to get this. And as I talked about the cost savings and streamlining operations and the enhanced security that comes along with it, it's the visibility that we have into the document production, the cost controls with follow me printing, and eliminate those local printers. I think we could save some money, especially in use for other purposes in the district where we actually really, really need them. Some of the challenges and solutions, I talk to you guys every year about this, but I'll reiterate again, is that we do have limited resources for Chromebooks, network upgrades, and maintenance. Dr. Schwartz, Ms. Biolo have been really great in providing me funding wherever they can to, sustain this program. But, the amount of Chromebooks we have and the amount of students, the amount of breakage that we have, it's going to take millions and millions of dollars to sustain a program like that. So I'm always asking for money, and we're just growing demand of tech support from staff. And now we're not only supporting the 3,500 staff members, we're also supporting 19,000 students, because every one of them has a Chromebook, who's using it in the classroom, that needs support. If it goes down, we got to be able to help them. So it's a huge tap on resources in the schools, especially the elementary schools where we don't have a dedicated tech. It makes it a little more difficult, but we try to navigate and get out to troubleshoot those issues as soon as possible. Some of the solutions would be to continue to leverage E-rate, the federal grants, state grants, implement a device replacement program for regular updates, try to do a refresh cycle of, every year or so we do up 25% of it, and over 4 years we're able to do 100, or if we double that out to 8 years, we do 1/8 a year, and then we kind of at least continue to get new devices into the system, because, these devices are being used, a lot of them are being damaged, we're trying to repair them, we're trying to take care of them, but it's a lot to do. Always asking for increased technology support in the budget, and enhance staff training in technology. Because, training the staff members on what to look for, making sure these devices are not damaged, how to check them back in. It's a challenge. We're working with staff. We have 1,500 teachers. We have a lot of great of them that follow it, and there's some that don't. So we're continuing just to kind of, reinforce the process and the protocols that we have in place to make sure these devices do not get damaged. Upcoming projects, I talked about some of these again, so the document scanning, the voice over IP system, that's coming on its 5 years, so we're gonna have to renew that for maintenance and support, some software assurance licenses for that. The copier contract, 180 copiers, I think we could try to get that reduced a little bit. We probably don't need 180, because now I'm going through and identifying which ones have been used a lot, which ones have not, and the ones that have not really been used, even though they've had them in the past. We did a 1-for-1 replacement in the past, but there, just to see where they are. But now we can monitor usage on them. Some of them don't need. Some bigger schools might have 5 or 6. They don't need them. We don't even know. We noticed that only 3 are being used. We're going to just put 3 back in there, and not going to give them their 5. They might be up here screaming at you guys that Will took my copier, but I told you guys ahead of time. So the data closet cooling is one of the projects that we would like to do, is get some air conditioners in our data closets. We have a lot of equipment in there, millions of dollars worth of equipment that we don't want to fail because of the heat that is being put off by this equipment. Storage upgrades, improved storage and backup, and then ongoing maintenance. We're managing 50,000 plus assets. We do about 25,000 repair tickets a year. Enhancing user training, as I talked about earlier, on the Chromebooks, the VoIP system, and the print management systems. Some of the key takeaways hopefully you guys get from today's presentation is that we modernized our infrastructure. We're talking about a 99.99% uptime for enhances learning and solutions. We're talking about cost efficiencies, where we use E-rate to save millions, enabling resource reallocation for the district. We talk about sustainability, where we need to identify these funding for these classroom Chromebooks, models, and asset management to ensure long-term viability of this program. We are future ready. The recent upgrades and the switch replacement projects ensure that the network is scalable to support AI, virtual reality, cloud, any type of emergency technology that goes out there. We could push as much data through the fiber as we need to, as long as we have the equipment on the other end. And our commitment is always has been to ongoing support and training for driving that educational excellence in our school district. In conclusion, I'd just like to talk about some of the achievements. I don't have to reiterate what I've said to you, but our next steps are really, in our commitment, is to sustain the excellence and innovation, and just to monitor these projects and secure additional funding so we can continue these projects. Just like to thank you for your continued support. You guys have been great to me and my department, and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have.
Commissioner O'Brien?
I will.
Hi.
With our Chromebooks, the older Chromebooks, are you able to maintain and keep the updating of the system software? Or are we going to at some point?
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. So we got about 8,000 that are coming end of life because Google is no longer supporting them.
Exactly.
Okay,
yep.
so we could use them for regular classroom, Google Classroom, and that, but they can't do any type of testing on them. So because if you can't push out the latest updates on them, the companies do not allow you to throw them on and students to test on them. So that's a challenge that we're trying to, hopefully they'll extend the timeline and give us another year. You know, but I can't control Google, right? So.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Commissioner Orso.
Thanks for the presentation, Will. Good job. This is not really a question, but a statement. I'm so excited about that document scanning.
Yeah.
Because we've been looking at that for years and years, but that's going to be a home run for everybody.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you.
I have a question, Will,
Yes.
because I think I reached out to you recently about some spam email that I got.
Yeah.
And you told me not to open it because, why? I was kind of leery about it. I wish I
Because
would've
you're
bought-
one of the smart ones in the district. I mean, we have so many people that are just replying to those. I mean, they're not coming from inside the Waterbury. I have the header on there that's alerting the folks that if it's not from the inside, if you're not expecting anything like this, don't click on it. We would never ask you for your username. We would never ask you for your password. People are providing it. And then I think we've disabled maybe over 150 accounts in the last 2 weeks. Because people are just providing that information. And then what happens is now they provided, their credentials are compromised. Now they're spamming out. We see an email coming from Will Zuda. You think, oh, that's legit, but I've been compromised. It's not a legitimate, it's a legitimate email from me, but it's not a legitimate email because I would never ask you for your username and password. And that's the whole thing. We could spend millions and millions of dollars on, hardening our network, but I can't do anything about the weakest link, which is always the human interaction, because once somebody provides it, it opens that door, and every protection that we put in place has just been compromised. And a lot of times we're looking at it at our phone, and we're like, oh, Will Zuda, okay, what's he sending me? And you click on it, and you think that I'm really asking you for that, and I'm not. So and I always tell people, just when in doubt, if you see that header, don't, or just send it to me. I'll tell you, we'll look at it, we'll send it back to you. Say, no, this is spam. But we've been seeing a lot of it, especially the last couple of weeks. So we've been disabling a lot of accounts, and then hopefully it'll all dissipate and go away. But we get these cycles, and they come, and there's really not much we can do. So except I just ask everybody, please do your due diligence. Please verify before you click on an email and never provide your username and password to anybody. So.
Commissioner Lopez.
Just curious, so the internship program that you have with the students saved us quite a lot of money. Is that only run during the summer?
It was run all year,
was
last
all
couple of
year.
years, right? Yeah.
All right,
So,
awesome.
Hopefully we can get it back, depending, maybe I guess if I save enough money through these copiers, I can convince them to get it back. But, it's the ultimate goal is to get it back, because it was a great program.
Yeah.
But, funding is
It's a
so
great
tight,
program.
and I get it. I mean, but we'll try to make do what we can.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. It saves us
Yeah.
money, and it's
Yeah.
great for the students.
Yeah.
It's a career pathway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
And now, Dan Berry for safety and security presentation. I'm ahead of myself. You get two.
Good evening. President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Interim Superintendent Schwartz, Commissioners, good evening. Presentation tonight on safety and security will focus on previous projects that are now completed, current projects, and daily duties. When we talk about past projects that have been completed within the last year, we go back 4 years ago, actually 4.5 years ago, when we had every school building was laid out differently. In total, we had 800 cameras, limited access. We had no real AED system in place. We had no protocols, no procedures. So over the last 4.5 years, working with IT, Mr. Albini, and all the other stakeholders involved here, we've done a lot of work to build this up. So 24-25 is a culmination of those last 4.5 years. So within that time, all Waterbury Public Schools have upgraded camera and access systems. We are currently at 3,000 new cameras from 842 4.5 years ago. The difference here is that the cameras are all uniform, the servers are all uniform. We have access in the places that the schools needed them, and all this footage goes back to Real-Time Crime Center where it's watched 24/7. That is an important aspect considering when we have emergency situations that we're able to look inside the schools and see things before even the police department gets there. They use that to their advantage to direct their response. So that has been a monumental task to do. The luck that the district had was we had 2 rounds of state security money that came through, round 4, round 5. We're currently in round 6, which I'll speak about in a few minutes, and we had the multimedia grant. So we had the benefit of that, which has led us to here. Mutual Link is now in all buildings. Every administrator has a fob. We have gateways built into those buildings. So essentially, Mutual Link does a lot of things, but the one thing it does most efficiently is it is basically a silent alarm. So if there is a situation where the building is going to go into lockdown, which would be the only time we use it, we will get an alert at dispatch, real-time crime center, and then on our phones. We know even before a 911 call is made that we have an issue in the building, and response to that building is almost immediate. So we've taken that 3 minutes for a 911 call, and we've made it an immediate response by adding Mutual Link to those buildings. The thing that may not seem important, but actually has been a huge upgrade for us is mapping. 4.5 years ago, if you wanted a map of a Waterbury Public Schools, you had to go into the school inspector's office and kind of grab all these old drawings and everything else. And then we contracted with CRG, which is a mapping company, and they basically mapped out every single building that we have, which has been a great benefit, not only for tactical purposes for the police department, but also for when we do walkthroughs for bids, also for any type of construction things with Mr. Konopka. So it has been a huge benefit for us and made things a lot more efficient in terms of trying to want to get around a building and then have just updated mapping for any type of use that we need it for. One of the things I think I'm most proud of, and my partner, Mr. Gizzi, who's a security coordinator, really did take a lead in this, was, 2.5 years ago, Dr. Schwartz came to me with the project of upgrading the AED program. And at that point, every building had 2 or 3 AED program units that worked off of just conventional batteries. So the question then became, if you needed an AED in a building of a Waterbury Public School, would it work? We had no real idea. You would check the battery life every 30 days, but after that 30-day check, it could actually not work. So we asked for advice from the fire department as well as police, and we came into contract with Stryker, who, and you can see the unit in the corner, that unit does a lot of things, but one thing it does for us most importantly is it tells us that it's active and it's working. So we have a dashboard with, I believe now 70 AEDs that are utilized throughout the district. They're utilized in gyms, they're utilized in pools, they're utilized for the nurse's office and other common areas. So we have a complete coverage of the district. So you would think a high school gym would be a place you would need it, but then we looked at other possible lapses, which was a lot of buildings on weekends are used for other activities, and it's just not, varsity games, or could be other activities where we would need an AED there. When that AED is open and sends an alert to us that it's being utilized, and the pads that are in there can be used also for adult and infant, so for children. So you don't need to switch out pads, and it is compatible with everything for emergency services in Waterbury, so when they come, they can just switch right over. There's no delay. And we were fortunate enough to have one in the gym at Kennedy during this past basketball season when one was actually utilized and available in the gym at Kennedy for a student that had experienced a medical emergency. Everbridge, 4.5 years ago, if you were doing a lockdown scenario, you had to make several calls besides 911. If you make a call to 911 now and you're a school here in Waterbury, Everbridge does a mass notification. So those calls are no longer needed. It's done by Everbridge, and you can efficiently just deal with the emergency in your building, which would be contact emergency services and do your accountability and getting the building secure. Everbridge notifies probably everyone here, everyone over here, as well as other stakeholders. So if there is a lockdown situation and we have, let's say, school personnel, carpenters, or whoever moving towards a building, they're going to get an alert, and then at that point they stop and stay away from the building. And then when the emergency has been cleared, then we send out a rescind, and then they're able to go back. But it's just another level of being able to let the district know what's going on in an immediate situation. All the lockdown alarms are now have been installed in all the buildings, which is simply just an alarm working through a PA system or a fire alarm system that once you hit it, it sends out an audible alert to the building to let staff know. That system, we train on it twice a year. We drill in October as well as in April, because we feel that maybe once a year really isn't sufficient and that there kind of is a fade by springtime. So we want to keep that training up. Portable radios are another important aspect. Some buildings had limited amounts, didn't know where to get batteries. At this point, I would say we're pretty updated with all the portable radios, which are an important component for emergency situations because staff outside, staff in other remote parts of the buildings need to have those on them, and they have to be working at all times. Halo vape detection was something we rolled out last year to, I would probably say, great success. So successful that we installed 70 units at the middle school, high school level, and then other grade levels, pre-K through 8s, the middle school components requested them. And so now we are rolling out another 40, which I'll cover. But they have been very successful. The other thing, in conjunction with Mr. Albini as well as with Mr. Konopka, it's been an ongoing process to identify exterior doors in the district that are no longer, repairable and need to be replaced. We've done a considerable amount of work with that, and at this point, I would say we have installed man traps, which is secondary entrances into the front of mostly all the schools now, which was probably 4.5 years ago. We probably had 5 to 6 schools that still did not have them. And this is a no-cost proposition at the bottom, but it doesn't seem important, but it actually is. When we go back 4.5 years ago, again, we talk about buildings, administrators, whoever, not knowing where to ask, where to get things from. Right. So it could be a radio battery, where do I get them from? It could be anything related to safety and security. We've set up protocols for paperwork, for radio equipment. If a building is experiencing some type of issue with the door, where the door is not shutting and it poses a security risk, then we write to myself or Angelo Gizzi, and then we get it to the right place, and we get the turnaround and the work done right away. Okay? And it really doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of people didn't know where to send stuff or ask for stuff, and so we've kind of made that process and protocol and camera issues are an ongoing issue, and Mr. Zuda can speak to that, where we have cameras go up, they go down, access points don't work during the winter. So there could be a lot of things, but I think the most important thing is they go to one place, and then from there, even if it has nothing to do with safety and security, but they're not sure, it could be a human capital issue, it could be whatever, we take that information, get the answer they need, and get it back to them for increased efficiency. So this brings us to where we are now for 25-26 with those. Some of those are still ongoing. Round 6 we're currently into right now. We're still doing upgrades to 8 schools, including the Crosby Field for camera coverage. We also are assisting with camera coverage for the stadium for Friday night games also, which is enlisted here. So it's an ongoing issue. That round 6 is a 2-year grant. So we're currently into half the year or half that time, and we've pretty much completed most of the project already. We're just kind of rounding it out and making sure everything is done. I already mentioned the round 2 of Halo installation, emergency repeater installation. So Crosby and Wallace had an issue with the police fire repeater, had been damaged several years ago, to my understanding, during a roofing project. So we are able to allocate the money, thankfully, to Ms. Biello and Mr. Albini to have that upgraded, and that's currently being done now. So when police and fire do go into the Crosby complex, they'll be able to radio back out to dispatch without any issue. And we anticipate that project to finish somewhere around the end of September. And then the next 2 are in collaboration with Mr. Zoo's office, Mr. Albini, which is the identimetrics. We currently do use that for tardy issues within certain schools, but we are now expanding it to ensure that every student that comes into a Waterbury Public School, walk through a high school or middle school, belongs in that school by identifying, okay? We have issues in the past where we've had students bus jump from one school to the other, and if you've ever been at a high school or middle school here in Waterbury during arrival, The amount of students that come in at one time can be overwhelming, and we don't want to take chances and make sure that we don't have the students that come into a building belong in that building, and that identimetrics is that step towards that. And the last is, in contract with Clear, is going to be our next initiative, which will be residency verification. Other districts have been doing it. It'll verify that students, families that are currently here in Waterbury are enrolled in Waterbury Public School and also residents of Waterbury Public School. So we're currently undergoing that right now to kind of get that in place. And then the daily functions, I'll just kind of run through those really quick. Click it up for me. Thanks. And these are just a list of the things that currently go on in my office every day. During the school year, I'd say my phone rings. I take about 50 calls a day. So the buildings will all have obviously my number, and there's check-ins for any various types of issues that go on, whether it's an emergency, an issue with a student that may involve the police department, but there is an ongoing collaboration every day between my office and the schools. We try to get into buildings almost every day between Mr. Gizzi and myself. We deal with non-emergency issues, the radios, the AED systems we oversee, camera repair. The other thing too is we manage the required reporting of drills. So not only do we assist with fire drills, lockdown drills, shelter-in-place drills, but we're also responsible to manage that, to make sure that every school every month hands in the paperwork, does a drill, and at the end of the school year we have to hand that into the state. My office also oversees workman's comp in relation to first report of injuries and the OSHA audit in January. You also work if a school calls me concerning an injury where somebody was injured due to something wrong with the building or a sidewalk was damaged and they tripped on it, then it's myself to get to Mr. Konopka and get that matter remedied as quickly as possible. We oversee building IDs as well as fingerprinting in conjunction with human capital, and then alarm repairs for the Sonatrol systems that we have in the building, which I'm on call for 24/7, as well as fire alarms and anything else that may go on after school hours or on weekends. We also assist the HR department with investigations, both human capital as well as civil service. We have ongoing project management, tracking of community arrests, which is another big thing. We track the arrests of Waterbury Public School students outside of schools, and if it's serious enough, or even if it's not serious enough, we still let the schools know what's going on in the community so that they can apply resources to whatever the student may be going through and try to work to assist that student and their families. And we do the lockdown drills as well as the all hazards plan, which we're responsible to have adherence to, which we submit every year back to the state and is kind of our guidance in terms of all emergency protocols and procedures for the district. And then the evaluation of Waterbury Public School properties for risk. We're currently doing a 2-year audit via the all-hazard plan to assess any vulnerabilities at the school. And then we do, obviously, Mr. Strachan works at the Real-Time Crime Center, monitors situations for us at the schools all day long. And then I'm in constant contact with Northwest Public Safety, which is our Waterbury dispatch. So if any 911 calls go through from a school, I get called right away. And then we start to assess what the issue is. Oh, that's all. Okay. So that's basically it. Oh, that's no. Oh, sorry, you got ahead of me. So, okay. And then the 24. So any issues that occur, I update the cabinet on. And that usually goes on all night, all weekend. Situations occur all the time with a district this big. So that's a constant information channeling to the cabinet. And then Youth Squad, we're in constant cooperation with in terms of all sorts of issues that go on. And then the notification of injuries that occur on school properties. So if we do have school students or visitors that are injured on our property, it then becomes an issue of making sure that we have the information necessary and that, we follow up with the student and their families. And then police reports associated. We also make sure that schools get the police reports related to any issues or arrests that occur outside in the district. That was something that was lacking a few years ago, which has since been taken care of. And then we Essentially, at the end here, it's just, again, 15 to 40 calls. We deal with traffic issues. Walsh is a great example. We had parent conflict at Walsh. When we looked at the traffic pattern, buses and drop-off, parent drop-off were all occurring in the same place. So when we looked at it, we're like, we should drop the buses down one road down, and then they had a pathway right up. We added a camera, and so far, it's actually resolved a lot of the issues up there. So sometimes traffic, especially at the start of school, can be challenging as parents learn the traffic patterns, but as time goes on, they usually level out. The issue that we have, or some schools, it's just an ongoing issue, and we do our best with Parent Square to kind of communicate what, the expectation is for it to be a smooth pickup and drop-off. And then summer school, people ask me all summer, how's your summer? I don't know the difference between summer and a regular school year. We have summer school going on, summer camps go on in the schools, so that's a constant thing to oversee every day. And honestly, there's a lot of preparation that goes in.
Yeah.
So we meet individually with every school and go over emergency protocols, what their evacuation points are per school. We don't do it as a general thing, we do it school by school. So at the end of July until the start of school, those meetings continue to go on. And then finally, it's just staffing. As I have a security coordinator, Mr. Gizzi, I have Mr. Strachan that works at the Real-Time Crime Center, and I have Sue Silva that assists me with all the processes and protocols that we have in place. Any questions?
Amazing.
I'm going to go to Commissioner Orsel first.
Dan, thank you very much. Excellent report, and of course, safety for our students is a top priority. We've come a long way in the last 4.5 years. I want to thank you and your department. Quick question, how's the yonder bags working out?
The yonder bags, I think there was a lot of lessons learned in the first year. I think we came to some conclusion as best practice, what going forward. Crosby did exceptionally well. I think there's a lot of things to be taken away from that, and so did some other schools too. But in terms of the amount of, when I talk about the amount of calls I got on a daily basis, the buildings that effectively use yonder, and to most part, most of them did, if not all, it did have a reduction in types of behavior issues that were going on. The phones are a major problem that they kind of recirculate problems, they kind of amplify problems, and with those out of the mix, it really made it for, in buildings that were sometimes challenging the year prior and years before that, it really did bring it down a lot. So there is a lot of value to the underbags.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. Dan, thanks. That not just the way you presented it, but the way you organize these slides almost makes it so I don't have to ask questions. But, no, it is. It's excellent. And I really appreciate when, we get information like this that we can read and know what's going on. And then when you say it the way you do, it just helps us greatly. So I'd like to see more of that, looking over at Dr. Swartz. But I do have questions, of course. And one is the doors. And I've asked you and Nick about the doors a lot. One, because we have too many. I don't know what the regulations are, but my goodness, some of these older schools, you have like 150 ways to get out of the building, which is why I've never been a fan of metal detectors, because we would need about a gazillion of them to cover all our doors. So, and I'm glad you're going through and making them upgraded doors, but how close are we to actually having a handle on that? Because the doors are...
Well, the question is probably answered two ways. One is, how do you manage your building? And then two, the doors themselves. So to the first point is, when we go building the building and we talk about, safety and security, we kind of implemented this thing where twice a day with the maintainers, with staff, is to, one, do door checks, which Mr. Gizzi does every day. We actually log the door checks in my office, right? And then the staff twice a day after arrival and after recess should be checking the doors. The other thing too is, what doors should staff be using? They should be using one door out, one door in, which limits the amount of doors you have to worry about being open. So that's really an ongoing, like, training thing. And before we do a lockdown drill, we'll go to a building, and they know the scheduled, but the first thing we do before we actually do the lockdown drill is we do exterior door checks. So that's an ongoing thing. The doors themselves, I think we're in better shape than we were. The edict was to find the worst doors and then kind of work backwards from that. Unfortunately, we had quite a few, but if you go by Kennedy and some other buildings, even Tinker down the street, there's been serious upgrades to their doors that were before, really not sufficient and had probably aged out 30 years ago. So that's been a commitment from Mr. Albini in conjunction with Mr. Konopka and I to kind of keep on that. And that kind of goes back to the availability and the process and procedures in place so when a door does break or it's no longer can be shut, and that does happen, that Mr. Konopka's crew gets right to it, and if it has to be replaced, we do that.
Great. I appreciate that because I know, like I said, we've discussed that, and the doors are just,
Yeah.
I knew a big issue. I'm glad you're
We just did
getting
a
on it.
project where I had to check every door for an alarm tab, and I can tell you, Waterbury has a lot of doors. So
It's
that took a
crazy.
long time.
That's why I've always
Yeah.
brought it up for safety.
Yeah.
Because it's,
It's the small things. An open door is a major problem, and we want to try to limit that and try to really work in that education of the buildings. That it's just not a principal vice principal thing. If staff do go out a door, they have to check behind them and make sure the door is secure. Or if a door can't be closed, they have to let somebody know right away, and we make that a priority. So if Mr. Konopka's carpenters have certain things to do during a given day, but an emergency safety issue comes up for a door, that takes priority, and that's done right away.
And I'm glad the question was brought up on the yonder bags, and we've talked about that, and we always say, oh, it's made things better. It's done this and that. When I look at this presentation as a whole, though, if someone comes to me and says, why is all this making our schools safer? Is there an easy answer to give to that when we put them all together? Because some of it is reaction, things for reaction, right? The emergency outcries to all the departments in one step now as opposed to multiple,
Correct.
right? That's a reaction. But when we put all these together, how do we tell the students, the teachers, the staff that what we're doing is making them safer?
I think that staff see it. I think it's when we do a lockdown or we do any type of drill, they see the uniformity, the response. We could do lockdown drills once a year and meet our criteria, but it's really not good enough. It's that training, it's that communication with staff, it's the staff knowing that if they are, let's say, in a lockdown scenario, not in a classroom, but let's say in a cafeteria, what's their role? We're always looking to improve that training part of it, that collaboration. And I've had teachers, when we've done lockdown drills, come up to me and give me their input or their advice, and I welcome that. But to me, it's an ongoing process that never really ends.
I appreciate that answer, but I'm more talking about and again, I go back to the yonder pouches. We talk about how, fights are down because maybe kids aren't wanting to video it, and they weren't staged. So that's making it safer. So that's what I'm trying to get at is how, hey, we have a lot of cameras, we record things, we could see things, we have monitors 24/7. But when I'm walking down the hall of a school, if I'm a student or a teacher, why am I safer?
I think it's a feeling that you have inside the school when you're in it. You can walk into a school and at a point where they've made their building safer. Okay. We've assisted them with the technology, but in the end, it's their efforts that have made these buildings safer.
Okay. And it's a collaboration too.
It's definitely,
and
and even with Waterbury PD, knowing what the students do outside of school, sometimes is as important knowing as what they do inside. And that's been a collaboration with Waterbury PD, and that information is shared with the administrators, and then strategies are put in place. And I think that's another element to it too.
Okay, last two things. Mm-hmm. If you really put a dent in a solution for traffic at Walsh, we owe them a bonus or something, because that is like, I don't know how you did that.
That just kind of, and talking about the cameras, I didn't have to go to Walsh. I just turned the cameras on, and then I could stand at Walsh and not be able to get the perspective I saw from sitting at the camera and rewinding it and watching, and I'm like, there's just too much going on in one place, and it's causing the conflict. And the buses would have to be perfectly on time, and if we had an all-star bus or a bus fall behind, then you're going to have the pickup drop-off start to have a conflict. And we had, just one street down, the ability to solve the problem.
Amazing. Good job on that. The last thing, you did not need to put your daily function slides. You don't need to validate your job to me. And I appreciate what you do, and to conclude, I do feel our schools are safer with all this implementation and your guidance, so thank you.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
First of all, I want to thank you for the presentation, but I feel you've done a lot since our first meeting with the task force. It's up and beyond what I even expected, so I congratulate you and your team for that. I have two quick questions. How is, when you have a drill and safety, and you need the reports from the principals for the drill and safety? Drill, thank you, I couldn't think of it. How are the principals? Are they doing well in their turnaround to the reports to you?
Excellent.
Okay.
So that's one of the procedures in place. We have an Excel spreadsheet, so usually, and we do safety minutes too, which are required. But twice a month, I meet with Sue Silva, and we go through where everyone is at in terms of submission. And by the end, I usually look, and then I usually follow up. But last year was probably one of the quickest years we were able to turn our drill reports around to the state. Usually they want it somewhere in July. We were able to submit it by the end of the school year. That's how efficient it has become.
Okay, great. And my other question is, I remember during our task force meetings, some of the kids from different high schools that were there represented were saying one school was doing one thing and the other school was doing another. Are we finally on an equal keel where all the schools are following your protocols and not their own?
That was the challenge of those first few years, and there were some habits and things that were in place, but I think we've moved in a really good direction. So if you were to meet an administrator in one building, and my hope is if you went to another, the protocols, the procedures, everything would be uniform, the same. And I think that one of the things that we do really well between my office and the administrators as a whole is there's a lot of communication that goes on every day. I don't mind getting those calls because those calls usually result in some type of betterment for those buildings in terms of they need something or they're not sure where to go, or the collaboration with Waterbury PD, which I can't say enough about. So I do believe that, yes, it's improved immensely.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? I just have one comment. Keep checking out Walsh.
I do every day. Thank you.
If I may, Commissioner Van Stone, we did put about $800,000 so far in new doors in the city. So that was the first wave. And now all schools have man traps except 2. And the reason why they're not done yet, I'm waiting for a grant that I should hear from next month. If we get the grant, it's in the grant for that. If we don't, then we're just going to pay it out of our capital, but we're hoping to get a grant for that. And in that same grant is the repeater that Mr. Berry talked about at Crosby Wallace. It's like a shelter in there. You can't communicate very well with the police department. We're putting, it's in the same grant for Wilby North End, and that estimate is almost $300,000, and that's part of that same grant.
Last but not least.
Okay, so a little bit on the facilities. We do have several foci, if you will. Safety is always the most important, but we do like to make sure that there's comfort, certainly efficiency in operations, and aesthetics. It all plays a part in wanting staff to come to our schools and work in our district, but also safety and want our students to have that culture in our schools. Some of the things that we've done with the cooling centers, all 13 schools now have heating and cooling centers in their cafegimatoriums, if you will. So they all have that going right now. Just one more school, Bunker Hill, to complete, and they will all have the cooling centers.
Oh, that's great.
We had to upgrade the electrical service, so we right now have an RFP out for 5 elementary school air conditioning. If we get good numbers on our RFP contractors, the electrical's already put in place so that we could put the air conditioning in right away. We did put new ventilation in Duggan, Gilmartin, and State Street. The State Street system, while it sounds like it was kind of new, it was a system that was from out of this country, Venmar, and we couldn't get any more parts for it. We just had to switch it out for a domestic brand. We just couldn't repair it anymore. West Side, we just are in the middle of a first phase right now of replacing some coils, but we will be entering phase 2 very soon and trying to get that school up and running with HVAC as well. Obviously, the big projects in the high schools, they're big buildings, Crosby, Kennedy, and Wilby. And when I say Crosby, Kennedy, Wilby, I also mean Wallace and North End as well. That's part of it, because it's part of the same complex. Gymnasium floors. This is when we do our stripping of gymnasium floors and putting a wax down and get them relined so that they're more player-friendly and safe and look better. So we're doing that in all the gymnasiums, and right now, I know we talked about the Tinker. They stripped all that down. They put vapor barrier down. There was a lot of wet material in there. It was all taken out. We put a cushion in there. We put plywood in there, and now we're putting in we did put in the tile, and they're using it now. So it's a great gym. I hope to take a look at it. I hope some of you get a chance to take a look at it. We did Washington as well, the cafeteria and the gym. That's the same room. I already talked about the floor maintenance. And some flooring projects. We've done a good job of painting. We've done a good job of putting new ceiling tiles in. But it's always the floors that we never get a chance to get to, so we started to do floors. We did some at Rotella. We did some at Westside. We did some at Carrington. We did some at Walsh. We're doing Washington now. We're doing Wilson. So we're doing a bunch of different schools, trying to replace those floors. And we put in a new, they're excavating right now, that'll be done before the first day of school, the pre-K playscape. They go through their NIAC accreditation this year. That'll be ready for the first day of school. The district-wide painting, we have 3 or 4 really, really dedicated painters, and they just go through a building, they just do a lot of painting, and then they move on to another building. So they're really going. Obviously, you know about the Kennedy, Sprague, and Tinker roofs, and I'm trying to get us on a schedule, so we're doing roofs every summer. So we have 33 schools, so that when we get to the end, we're doing 1 a year, and we're replacing them instead of trying to do 3 or 4 at a time. We're trying to take care of this envelope first and get this sealed up. Later on, you'll see there's one for Crosby Wallace, and hopefully the next one will be in North End. We had to put a new electrical system at Regan. You remember that rodent situation there? That took up a lot of money. That was uninsured. The deductible was very high, and the insurance company denied us. It was $190,000. Wilson, we took down the portables. They were very unhealthy, unsafe. We moved all the buildings, all the classrooms into the regular building. We took them down, and just yesterday they finished putting up 2 new doors in the back, and now it's a much better facility right now. Specialized learning spaces, we put in a new culinary in Wallace Middle School. We're just finishing that up now. That'll be ready for the first day of school. They have to do some asbestos removal, but new equipment, new floor, and so they'll have a culinary that'll feed into the Crosby culinary program. And we put 2 new culinary programs at Crosby, and we put did the music room at Wallace. We put in new sound barriers, new rug. It's a great, also will transition into the music program at Crosby. We did the music room at Westside Middle School. We did the main office. And if you come to any of the PD at what used to be called the auxiliary gym at Westside, is now an auditorium, a new stage, curtains, a lift, chairs, a giant screen, and we just are doing the floors now. There'll be a new floor in Westside as well. And the last page or two are just a lot of things that we're doing. Multiply that times 100, and there's so many things that we're doing that may seem small, that you just can't list them. But what happens to some of these projects is they get kind of pushed back sometimes when we have an emergency. So if we have an emergency, we don't scrap it, we just delay it a bit. But these are all the things that we have done this year. Bunker Hill Library, Crosby High School Library, a new bathroom at Chase. Just to give you an example, new electrical theater lighting at Waterbury Arts Magna School, hot water tanks at Rotella. I'm just on, and that's what we've accomplished on a laundry list, if you will. And then some of our upcoming projects, these are some of the things that we're going to work on now, is the Crosby Wallace roof replacement, Driggs and Wilson. We are going out to RFP in early spring, and that will start excavation right in June at the end of school for Driggs and Wilson elevators. Driggs and Washington paving will be next year as well. The alarm monitoring at all schools. Right now, we do have Securitas, which used to be Sonatrol, and we're going out to an RFP, try to reduce our monitoring costs. So we just sent everything over to procurement, to purchasing, and we're waiting for that to go out to RFP. Also part of a grant request that we made, fire panel upgrades, Identimetrics, which is the finger scanning that we're going to use in the high schools and the middle schools, the high schools. Clear ID for residency verification to make sure you're in the right school and in the right town. So that's what will go into effect this year as well. We do have to replace a sewer line at Driggs, so that is getting ready to be done. I spoke about the West Side HVAC Phase 2. We did get our return bid. We only received our bids for our Kennedy High School pool deck, so now we'll work on that for building that up and supporting it because that is compromised right now. The man trap doors at Driggs and Wilson, the main entrance flooring at Driggs and Washington. Enlightenment right now does not have an intercom system, so when they have a fire alarm, they have to use a radio, walkie-talkies, not very efficient. Call a room, not very efficient. That is also part of a grant that we should know next month. If we don't get it, then we will be putting in an intercom system at Enlightenment. State mandated indoor air quality surveys. We have to do surveys on all our schools. We started 2 weeks ago. We have to do 20% a year over a 5-year period, so we're going to do 7 schools this year. We started with that. Those results will be sent to the Board of Ed and posted. So they have to be posted on our results. With bringing back our Friday night football at Municipal Stadium, we're installing 4 new cameras there. that will show to the walking areas, to the parking lot, Watertown Avenue. And we met with the police department, Dan Barry, Parks Department, DPW. We're cordoning off a lot of areas where students and the public cannot go to make it safe. We're going to have police officers, SROs there. We're going to hopefully use the identimetrics there for our own students to identify who's there for a safe Friday night games. And I'd just like to thank all our operations team that presented tonight for the great job that they're doing within the departments. I couldn't ask for a better group of people that I work with. In October, Sandra Romero will make her presentation on the Welcome Center because I wanted to get October 1st numbers, which will tell the true story about summer registration.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. Thank you, Nick. This passes the Van Stone metric for presentation, so you did a nice job.
Thank you.
But you probably know where I'm going because I called you about Driggs. And if you look on upcoming projects, they're almost on every line. And that community is not feeling very welcomed when it comes to upgrades to the building.
Yep.
In fact, I asked you if I could even take a walkthrough because I want to see some of the things people are calling me about. And look at upcoming projects. You got elevator additions, you got paving, you got man-trap doors, you got main entrance flooring. I mean, Driggs is on almost every line.
Yeah, we just can't pave unless it's the summer, and we just could not get a paving company in a bid to do it in the summer. So that's why the paving, which is budgeted, it's in my budget for now, it's going to have to be next summer. It's unfortunate. The elevators, it was just a long process, but that's going to start, it's going to go out to bid early, late winter, and that'll start in June along with Wilson. The flooring, I ordered the flooring today, and that will be going in before school begins. And the sewer line, I'm dependent on the city for that. That has to be done by DPW, or excuse me, Jacobs. And so we are moving.
Watch out for what you find when they open that up.
Well,
this is Waterbury.
Yeah, and we get a new sign. We negotiated a new sign for Driggs once they dig up for the new sewer line, so we'll get a new sign. But Driggs, we did do some work there. We put up a tree. They wanted a tree replaced. We put up a tree. We put up a gate. We did do some painting, but we intend to do more. There's a bathroom that just needs to be, we just need that sewer work done, and we can remedy that as well.
I think we need to give them a little love. They're definitely feeling
Will
left
do.
out.
Not intended, though.
I know. But let's do that walkthrough, because I want to see some of the things, because there's things that were brought to my attention that are not on your list.
Okay.
So, and I've mentioned a couple of them to you before, but I just want to go back and see what's going on over there.
Certainly.
We're doing all this construction around the city, and Driggs is like, wait a minute.
And that's why my first slide, if you remember, it is about aesthetics. It is about comfort. It isn't just safety. It isn't just functionality. It has to be the whole package, because we want everybody to be happy in that school. Okay. So we're trying to get to everybody as we can, and Driggs is on that list for sure.
And I just want to make sure that between the board and the Chase building, that we let them know that they're not forgotten. The things are in the works. Not everyone goes first on a project. Just so they know we're here and we're not forgetting about them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Point taken, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Albini.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Albini, I just want to say before you leave, I just appreciate everything you've done in the operations department over the last year or so under, as the interim and now as the superintendent. You could tell by the presentations tonight, everybody in that department is working extremely hard on behalf of students of Waterbury, and it's a lot of those things that people don't see, hear about, read about under Mr. Albini's leadership. I think we're definitely on the right track, so thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Committee on Finance. Adam. Shaban. Shaban.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Honorable Commissioners, and Superintendent Schwartz. The Connecticut State Department of Education announced a grant for the 25-26 school year released by the USDA through the National School Lunch Program aimed at assisting participating districts with the purchase of equipment. This is a competitive grant, not an entitlement grant. The CSDE will award $108,255 to participating Connecticut districts. Districts may apply for up to $15,000. No matching funds are required. I respectfully request permission to apply for this grant.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaban. Item number 6, Ms. Romero.
Greetings and good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Board of Education Commissioner, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. Request for approval to include Roberto Clemente International Dual Language School in the existing no-cost agreement with Vision to Learn. Vision to Learn will be providing on-site vision screenings performed by optometrists. Sorry.
Are there any questions?
Great program.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Item number 7, Ms. Frennis.
Good evening again. The Education Department respectfully requests approval to enter into a contract with Rubicon West LLC to purchase licensing to continue to house Waterbury Public Schools curriculum. The agreement was initiated under a request for sole source. The term of the contract is 3 years for a total of $137,940 and is funded through Alliance.
Are there any questions? Number 8.
The Education Department respectfully requests approval of Amendment 2 to the agreement between the City of Waterbury and Benchmark Education Company, LLC. The purpose of the amendment is to purchase instructional materials for Roberto Clemente International Dual Language School's new classes. The amendment will adjust the total number of books and licenses needed for the life of the contract. The total cost of the amendment is $34,147.58 and is payable in 2 equal installments in years 4 and 5 of the contract.
Are there any questions? Number 9, Ms. Frennis.
Ooh. Pretty easy. The Education Department respectfully requests approval of a contract with Curriculum Associates, LLC for a core mathematics program for kindergarten through grade 8 students. The program is new for middle school students and a continuing updated version for kindergarten through grade 5. The program includes diagnostic testing for all students 3 times per year using an assessment that has predictive value for smarter balanced performance. The program also includes iReady MyPath, which provides students with an individualized pathway based on the diagnostic test that addresses both intervention and enrichment.
Commissioner Van Stone.
She said it was too easy, so thank you, Madam President, through you.
You always ask me about math.
Actually, it's not this, it's actually all 3. What I want to say is this is the exact perfect use of the Alliance grant. This is like perfect even 10 years ago when they used to give us a hard time. So I'm so glad that we're really utilizing this grant. It's important that we do it to basically Lions Grant used to be to make your schools better. That was what the original concept was. It's gone all kinds of ways now. But this is perfect use of it, and I appreciate it. One, that you go out and find these things, and the fact that we could utilize the Lions Grant is really, really a great thing. So thanks for doing all the research on all three of those.
Sure. Welcome.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown. Good evening, Commissioners, Superintendent Schwartz. I'm here before you to respectfully request to enter in a contractual agreement between Schoolment and the Waterbury Public Schools to market and promote out-of-district enrollment at our magnet schools, which are Maloney, Rotella, and Wams. Per state mandates, at least 25% of our students at our magnet schools must be from outside of Waterbury in order to reduce economic, racial, and ethnic isolation. Schoolment is a comprehensive K-12 enrollment management platform that helps schools and districts with various aspects of the enrollment process, from attracting new students to managing applications and registrations, and even improving student retention. It offers a suite of tools for attracting families, managing applications and lotteries, streamlining registration, and fostering positive school environments. This one-year contract was secured through a sole source approval from the purchasing department. The total cost for the project is $42,750 for all three schools, which brings it to about $14,250 each for each building, and will be funded through the Magnet School Grant.
Commissioner Van Stone, then Commissioner Lopez.
Told you it was going to be a long night. When I first saw this, I was like, are you kidding me? But then I was like, $42,000 and what we can either gain or lose by not filling those out-of-town seats, it more than pays for itself. I'm just concerned about an outside company, though, doing this. I mean, what happened to the great old take a few students in their uniform, go to these schools, promote it, have the kids tell the kids what it's all about, but we're going to get a company that actually in their scope of services and their paperwork, they have something that worries me greatly. And it's under Section 4, Scope of Services, from their paperwork. And I'll make it bigger so my eyes can see it. Visiting schools in a secret shopper capacity in order to provide you with feedback about the school. What are they doing? They sneaking in the back door to try to talk to? I mean, visiting schools in a secret, and they even quote it, in quotes, secret shopper.
Right.
Can you please check with them on what they mean by that? Because that worries me greatly.
Understood.
And this is the first one that is on, that I will talk about, that's also on our agenda in another half hour or so to vote on. And I have questions on these things that worry me, but we're going to vote on them in another half hour. And you're just the first one to be in that seat when I go off like this.
Understand.
Not personal.
Understand.
We're looking at these things that I have serious questions about, that in an hour or so, we're going to vote and probably vote yes to put these in place when I have no opportunity for you to come back to me and be able to answer my questions. And this is going to happen on a bunch more coming up.
Well, definitely get clarity for you about the secrecy piece. Right. And in regard to just the old-fashioned approach, just really tough to go out and solicit in some of the suburbs. We obviously, in the schools, it's super tough because we need the cooperation from
we don't get cooperation from a lot of these districts, so yes, I already know that because I had one superintendent attack me at a meeting one time about these schools, and she lost in the end, trust me. But yeah, I know the difficulties of going out there, but I'm just a little concerned about an outside company doing this work. So I really need to understand what they're saying they're going to do in their scope of service. Okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez.
Well, my question probably should have been before Tom went. I was just curious what we currently do and why we need this.
So what we currently do, obviously, we advertise on our social media platforms, our district platforms, but it's become obvious we need a little bit more targeted approach. And so hopefully Schoolmint can kind of help us with that. And maybe that they can give us some strategies that we could replicate and do the work in-house from here on out. That is the plan and the hope. So right now we just do a myriad of things. We do some mailings, but obviously mailings are expensive. And so, that's kind of also the issue that we're kind of running up against, kind of having limited resources as far as to really kind of push our message and reach out to the suburbs.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Vice President Brown.
Now I'm thinking after these questions, what is the organizational structure? Who is in charge of our magnet schools? Is that your bailiwick?
Well, I definitely, jump in and help out whenever the state is looking for things. But ultimately, the schools do a great job of managing their magnet affairs. Everyone has a magnet school, like a grant manager in the building who manages all their magnet affairs, and the principals obviously are very knowledgeable as well.
Okay. So I think after this discussion, I think a more strategic outreach needs to be put in place. I mean, what you're outlining, and I'm hoping it's a deeper dive than what you just outlined. I mean, it just sounds like we're not really doing anything. I mean, it just sounds like we're just doing mailings. Oh, maybe we'll put it on Facebook, but we need to be in those schools recruiting. And I'm sure that given the limitations of some of these surrounding school districts, losing population and so forth, I can understand there's some pushback about sending their students to magnet schools, but I just think, maybe with our new communicator, on board, maybe there's more we can do, because I think somebody had said, it's student to student, selling that needs to go on. So I just think we need a strategic plan. It sounds like it's catchers can right now. So I would like to see more of a plan involved by the administrators of what they're actually doing.
Definitely. Well, one thing that we're doing, we discussed it a little bit earlier, is pre-K is our biggest carrot. And here in this building, Rotella, we actually opened another pre-K classroom to attract more suburban students.
So they're doing something right?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Commissioner Orso, and then Commissioner Van Stone.
Now, these people, we expect them to go into schools and recruit. I mean, if I was that school system, I wouldn't want anybody in my building to recruit my students. So I don't know what's the benefit of these people, except, I don't know.
The other school systems are required by law to let us in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I like that law.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Sorry to go a second time, Madam President, but thank you.
No, you're fine.
But that's, Commissioner Orso, that's where the secret shopper comes in. But actually, what I wanted to say was I spent on this board and I'm no longer, I had to call it up quick to see who currently is. I was the Magnet School Intergovernmental Committee representative for this board for almost 3 years. And although I called the principals and asked, in that 3-year period, there was never one meeting between the schools, even though I believe it's part of our state requirements that this intergovernment, and I couldn't get them. Commissioner Anthony Ireland is currently the representative. 3 years, and there was no meetings, and I went back because before me actually was former President Stango was assigned to this, and he said, yeah, I never had a meeting either.
So we did conduct an out-of-district stakeholder meeting like 2 years ago. We invited our current partners, and we actually extended, out into further suburbs. Unfortunately, only one attended.
Well, I didn't attend because I wasn't invited, and I was the representative 2 years ago. So, Madam President, I think we need to make some corrections here and force these people to get together. It's just, because I do know that some are not happy with us. I don't want to say to Townsend. But yeah, I think this board right here needs to be aware of what's going on. And we have an assigned person, and I'm almost certain it's in the magnet school laws that this has to happen. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure of it.
We'll get
So,
some outreach.
Sorry to go a second time, Madam President. I just thought it was important to bring this up.
You're fine. Thank you. Commissioner Vanstone?
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson? Item number 11, Tracy Ann Menzies.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Board Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. The Special Ed Department requests the approval of the agreement between the City of Waterbury and St. Vincent's Special Needs, Inc., out-of-district special ed placement. The purpose of this agreement is to provide a special education program, including instruction and related services, suitable for those children to be served in accordance with Individual Disability Education Act, IDEA, and each individual student's IEP as developed by the city and the Planning and Placement Team, PPT. The original contract was voted and approved by the Board of Education on May 15, 2025. The Board of Aldermen voted and approved the original document on May 19, 2025. The contract, however, could not be fully executed because St. Vincent's Special Needs, Inc. continued to make significant changes to the draft and would not sign until recent negotiations. Therefore, the new executive summary is being resubmitted for approval and considered of the new draft contract. The agreement shall commence from July 1, 2025, and will terminate on June 30, 2026. The city shall have the sole option to extend this contract for an additional fiscal year from July 1, 2026 through July 30, 2027. The agreement is at a cost of $383,778 based upon a rates schedule for each student at the facility for a one-year term. The purpose of this agreement is to provide services to special students at St. Vincent's Special Needs out-of-district placement and will be paid through general funds.
Are there any questions? Commissioner O'Brien?
Very simple. Where is this located?
St. Vincent?
In Waterbury?
St. Vincent out-of-district placement is in Trumbull.
Okay.
The program?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Where is it?
Trumbull. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Menzies.
Thank you.
Item number 12, Mr. Mendoza and Jean.
Good evening, President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Schwartz. Tonight I'm joined by Director of Human Capital, Jean Tassin-Paleth, who's going to take the lead tonight.
Good evening. I was tempted to introduce myself as Dan Barry, but President Hernandez, Vice President Brown, Commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Schwartz, on behalf of Human Capital, we respectfully request approval to enter into a 3-year agreement for substitute teacher staffing services with ESS. It's our current vendor, effective November 1st of this year through June 30th of 2028, with the option for 2 additional 1-year extensions, which will come back to you for approval in subsequent years. The contract total is for $12.6 million over 3 years, with annual costs not to exceed $4.2 million. Funding certification has been requested from the general fund for each year of the agreement. The current contract does expire on October 31st of this year, so we're requesting timely approval to ensure uninterrupted coverage across our school district for a variety of staffing needs. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Vanstone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. It's a big number. Big number. What's our current daily rate for subs?
We're currently filling about 65% of our request. To put in perspective, last year we have 46,848 total requests. Out of those requests, they filled 29,000 of them. But in that big number, you have to consider that some of those requests are maybe for an hour here, an hour there, they're running late, or they have to go to an appointment, so we need coverage. And usually we don't cover those partial assignments.
I like that answer. It wasn't really what I was asked when I'm asking, because that even makes another question come in. But I was talking about what is our pay each day to subs?
I don't have the cost of the breakdown, the actual pay, but I can give you the breakdown of each position.
I know a couple of years ago we raised it.
A daily sub makes 110 a day. And then if they're a building sub, they make 125. And then if they're certified and they're on a long-term assignment, they make $231 a day.
Wow. Okay. Are we still competitive with those numbers? Because we raised it because we were not.
We are competitive with those numbers.
Okay, so we're holding ground there. The only thing this tells me is that we have a serious attendance problem with our full-time teachers. And that's not going against all teachers, because most teachers come to work every day. But when we're doing this kind of contract for $12 million for substitutes, 4.2 per year, it's a serious problem. Serious problem. And I've brought this up, I think, every year I've been on this board, that we need to do something about chronic absenteeism. The Friday, Mondays, all of a sudden a spring day is going to be 85 degrees, and, we can't get enough subs.
So one thing that kind of hurt us last year was the legislation with the Connecticut paid sick leave, where all employees were allowed to have 40 hours of sick time consecutively without us actually questioning them for any absences. We couldn't question any of the absences.
Well, yeah,
So we saw a big
that's
increase
part
in
of
it.
it,
We've
but
also
I don't
noticed-
think that really covers needing $12 million to get substitutes.
In past years, we're averaging about 4.5 million a year to 5 million a year. So this is actually down from where we were. And what we're factoring in is that we have a lot more of our positions filled currently. So that's something else that we got to consider. We had a lot of vacancies, and at this time, we've been able to fill a lot of those. So we've gone a little lower than we did in past years.
When we've negotiated the teacher contract, I have tried for 12 years to get some clauses in there about absenteeism. And we have one coming up.
We do
right?
have one coming up.
And you're going to hear me loud, because $12 million, that's ridiculous. There's an chronic absentee problem in our district, and we don't do anything about it.
One thing that we've noticed too is there's a big increase ever since COVID. Now, anytime anyone has a cold or anything, they've taken that to heart, where they just stay home. They're sick and they don't want to come to work and spread anything.
I can weigh the difference between excuse and reason. And that's an excuse. We got to get to all the reasons. Because this is a $12.6 million. Because people aren't coming to work. Oh, and by the way, we're paying them to stay home. And we're paying a sub to come in. Even the term, I know there's certain exceptions, but the term permanent sub, it's like a contradiction. We got to get a handle on this, and I'm telling you, I'm
That's something
coming
we can
after
discuss
this
with the
very
next contract.
strong in the next negotiation, because it never came out of our room. And I brought policies that we have, that I saw where I used to work.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was told, oh, unions never go for that. Well, guess what? The policy I brought was an agreement with a Teamster union. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done. And I will be fighting for it this time.
I understand.
Very hard, because this is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Thank you.
And so we do have teacher negotiations coming up for the upcoming year. So I know Commissioner Van Stone, you're typically on that committee, so depending on how that works out, we'll have that opportunity to have different language in the contract, hopefully through that process. Obviously, right now we're bound by the contract in terms of what teachers can and cannot do. One number I also wanted to just make sure that we were clear on, I think, Mr. Mendoza, when we were looking at it, interestingly enough, when we were trying to figure out some of the comparisons between the last few years, inexplicably, we couldn't get our finger on
The
exactly
FMLA.
why, but FMLA.
FMLA, there's a huge increase.
Yeah, was
It's
like.
almost tripled.
Yeah, has almost tripled.
Yeah, we looked at those numbers.
Over the last 5 years, which, sometimes you go through cycles, births and things like that. But, and that's fine. I mean, those are real legitimate reasons why people need to be out. And so there are some anomalies in the data that we've been looking at and tracking. And like you said, you've done a fantastic job. Our numbers even right now are better than they have been in the last 5 years in terms of hiring going into the school year. So, we share your, everyone from, other teachers in the building to administrators to central office, constantly looking at it, unfortunately bound by contracts. And, many of the absences are legit, but in the cases where they're questionable, it impacts not just the students in the classroom, but the whole building, because people are covering for those students. And like we said, most of the absences are legitimate to obviously a large group here. But we certainly are continuing to look at it and look forward to having those conversations at the negotiation table this year as well.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Albini.
Good evening once again. The Waterbury Education Department respectfully requests your approval of Amendment 1 to the contract with Ambassador Wheelchair Services, bus transportation for medically fragile students and/or students with disabilities, and the McKinney-Vento students of Waterbury Public Schools. The Education Department and Ambassador negotiated a 3% increase from September 1, 2025 through August 31, 2026. This is an effort to have our transportation contracts coincide with each other, hoping that it creates some leverage on our part, making it very fruitful to a company or companies coming in to bid for services.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Albini. Oh, number 15, 14, Mr. Albini.
Thank you, Madam President. The Education Department respectfully requests your review and approval of the First Amendment to the Architectural and Engineering Design Services contract for elevator additions to Driggs, Tinker, Generali, Wilson. The original final contract date is August 31st, 2025, and we're respectfully requesting to extend Fryer's contract to August 31, 2030. They have held their prices, so we are finishing up the Wilson Driggs. Right behind it is Generali and Tinker, and they've held their prices. So we will be able to go right into, once we get the RFP out and we name a company, contractor for those two, then we could do Generali and Tinker.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you. You knew I was going to ask you about this one. Driggs is on this, and we already talked about it a lot. Someone has to go last, someone has to go first. What is the actual reason for the delay and the request for extension?
It takes a while to get a response back from DAS, whether they'll approve the plan, the request for the project, and then the architect has to design this, and then, because you go from a schematic design to...
No, I don't mean that part, but there's got to be, we're at in 5 years. I actually saw, when I saw 2030, I thought it was a typo.
No. Truthfully, I don't think we have to go that far, but because they're holding the price, I'm hoping next year we will be able to do Tinker and Generali.
There's actually no such thing as a no-cost extension. There's a cost here because we're delaying, of all things, an elevator at 2 schools, which doesn't even meet, with disability acts. So There's no such thing as a no cost. I get it, they're holding their prices, this and that, but we're not getting our work done that we thought was going to all be done by the end of this month. And now we're talking about 2030. So there's no
But that
such
would
thing as
only-
no cost.
Well, there's no additional cost. What I'm saying is, we can't afford to do too many at one time. If we had the money, the 21% match, we would be able to do all four. That's the purpose why I have to space them out a little bit.
And it should have been two different contracts, because these extensions for me just drive me crazy. And
When-
because they're not no cost.
But they're designing something that started already, and it could go into 2 years holding that price, and I'm happy with that.
I understand all that. What I'm saying is, at some point in time, we thought we could complete this in August of 2025.
Correct.
At some point in time, we thought that.
That's correct.
So something happened to have to add 5 years.
Several things. Getting the RFP out.
But is
getting-
any of it on our suppliers, our contractors? Is any of this delay on them?
No, this didn't even get to that. This is just the architect and DAS.
But if they're causing it, they should pay us. That's my point.
But they're not the only one.
I'm so
that's-
tired of these contractors just saying, oh, give me 5 more years. It's out of, we got to stop doing this. I don't know. Thank you.
Mr. Albini, number 15.
Department of Education respectfully requests approval for agreement with On-Call Professional Services. These are professional engineering services that the Board of Aldermen has adopted, and we would just like to add them to our list as potential on-call services. We have done business with 3 of the companies. We have done business with AI engineers. They're the ones who are designing right now the pool deck at Kennedy, as well as the other HVAC systems. 2 companies, 3 companies. HRP has done some work for us, and SLR did our playscapes. We don't know if we'll ever use them. It gives us the opportunity to call them and get quotes from them, so the competitive bidding process isn't circumvented. If we want to get engineering services on something, we can call them and see if they're willing to bid on certain companies, on certain projects.
Commissioner Van Stone.
In one respect, these are some of the best proposals and responses I've ever seen. We have wage sheets from these companies. They're obviously burden rates. I thought some were a little bit high, but that's, at least you have a rate chart. That's fantastic. I look at Commissioner Orso, we didn't get rate charts from too many. So I thought this was a great package to us. Until I started looking, there would be a but. And I guess you're doing all these as one item, right? We're not going.
Yes.
So I'm only going to mention a couple because I got something on every one of these companies. The first company on the list, AI Engineering, their services after construction administration and construction resident engineering inspection, their expertise is water pollution control, sanitary sewage collection systems, sanitary sewage pump systems, sanitary sewage collection systems, and I can go on. What do these guys have to do with our educational buildings?
They have done the HVAC system at Kennedy, and they're doing the pool deck engineering for support. So they all have their specialties, and some are more geared to some.
What you just said doesn't appear in what they say their specialties are. So let me just go through a couple of them quickly, because I already know the pages. 337, if anyone wants to follow along with me. Come on. Because the next company on the list, their specialties, I'm not going to go through them all because I'll drive everybody crazy. Same thing, water pollution control, sanitary sewage control, water pump station inspection, but I have to go to one in particular. And I guess I could find a page, but I don't know how to do that. So if we go to HRP, they're a long ways away. So anyway, their expertise, I remember theirs, I'm not going to find it quick. Their expertise is construction administration of reservoirs and dam inspections. I'm not sure we have any dams or reservoirs in our schools.
Right. But that
This
doesn't mean-
contract almost sounds like it shouldn't have come to the Board of Ed. I understand Alderman already approved it, that's great, but they must think I'm getting thirsty. These expertise just make no sense.
So that is their expertise, doesn't mean that they don't have other.
Well, then they should have listed it.
I won't
When I
disagree.
read the contracts, maybe two of these companies can offer me anything I'm looking for. Maybe two. I don't get why and I get it. Right now, it's not costing us anything. But who are we doing a favor for by adding these to our list of potential contractors? Because right now, what I see in the contracts, they can do nothing for this school district until we have a dam or a reservoir.
So this is only to put them on the list? We
I
may never
gotcha.
use them?
Nick, the reason I'm really frustrated tonight is, again, if I ever stop talking and we get to the special meeting, we're going to vote on this, and we're going to probably, I'll guarantee you, we're going to accept this contract. I won't. I have outstanding questions on things that in another hour are going to be voted on and put in play. And I have questions. We almost need to go back to weekly meetings because we're too often being put on the spot to say we have to do things tonight. I get it. People are moaning about that. But you know what? We are doing business without the ability to question it. Thank you.
Commissioner Orso.
I don't want to prolong this, but I'm the one that set up the system maybe 10 years ago, because every time we had to go out for a little bit of a project, we'd have to go out to an RFP and go through a process that take maybe 2 months. I know that, but I know what you're saying, Tom, I understand that. But this is the reason why these things were set up, so we can call these people, because they had their rate sheets, and it was something that would help the system to move forward quickly. And like he said, and like you said, we don't have to use any of these people. Even if we use one, at least we have the opportunity to maybe use one. Like Teagan Bond, I know, I've dealt with all these people, but that was the reason why these things were set up for the city side. And this is the way we develop it to help the procedure move quickly. And then there was the rate sheets were always involved and everything else. And I think that we're just doing this in case we use these things. We don't, if we can't use them for the sewer thing, obviously, but at least we have the opportunity to use these if we need them for something else. That's what I have to say.
Vice President Brown.
Thank you. Just so that I understand, all of these companies have been on a list somewhere? I mean, they're vetted, I mean, they're approved somehow? And is that what you mean by a rate setting, or
Yeah.
is that the term?
Yes, it was done through an RFP process, and all of these people, they all
So
have to
they've
send
already
in-
gone through the process?
What they do have to send in their proposals with the rate sheets, and we could accept them and not accept them.
Okay, so they have been followed, but they've been reviewed and have qualifications? Okay. I just have a question in terms of the companies. How many are minority-owned?
I do not know.
Okay.
I do not have that information.
I mean, because I just sat here and looked up a few, and it doesn't seem like we have a lot of representation. So I just would like to see an effort to try to reach out to some minority contractors. And I know we talked about this a long time ago, Rocco, and for some reason, we're not getting the responses that, from the company. So, but I just want to put that on the radar, that we really need to do a better job of that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Item number 16, Mr. Albini.
The Education Department respectfully requests proceeding with roof replacement at Crosby High School and Wallace Middle School, known as Bergen Complex. Yeah. We have done the building committee meeting prior to the Board of Ed meeting this evening, and respectfully request approval.
Are there any questions?
Latoya, do you want to tell them about our vote? The vote in the building committee?
What would you like for me to say?
That we approved it.
Aren't we supposed to, oh, yeah.
Just
so
for
we-
explanation.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine, yes. So we did have our buildings and facility meeting, and we did, vote on approving this.
There you go.
Now you just lost me. Sorry. Are there any other questions? Mr. Albini.
Good evening once again. The next two items, I've come to realize that maybe they've been just a little bit rote, and we've just gone through them and not really reviewed the applications as well as we probably should have after looking at some of the applications that come forward. So I'm going to present them a little bit differently this evening, specifically on the external applications. But item number 17, the Education Department has received 17 requests for building and school facilities use by schools, school organizations, and/or city departments as listed, and they request Board of Education approval as listed.
Are there any questions? Number 18, Mr. Albini.
Number 18, the Education Department has received 4 requests for building and school facilities use by outside organizations, and they request a waiver of fees by the Board of Education. They are Town Plot Sports for Duggan Gym use, the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center, use of adult education parking lot, 2 classrooms, 12 tables, and 50 chairs, City Youth Theater, the Crosby High School Auditorium, and again, Town Plot Sports, West Side Middle School Gym. I thought they should all be itemized. I think everybody should get a little better idea of what's being requested, what they're looking for. I will admit, I was reading from the application itself and probably not giving it enough justice to give the Board of Education an opportunity to evaluate should they receive a waiver. I'm not so concerned with building use from internal groups, but external groups that are requesting waivers, I think you should have a little better idea of what is being requested. So I'm being a little bit more specific, if you will.
Thank you.
And I will continue this process.
Moving forward.
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Albini.
So
Any questions? Commissioner Van
Real
Stone.
quick, this is a positive one.
they're all positive, Commissioner.
Vice President Brown, President Hernandez, you probably remember, and I know Gary does, I used to probably talk about this category and these requests and these waivers for hours and hours. And then I just stopped doing it. But thank you for at least checking these, because this used to be like the first thing I looked at on the agenda. But I stopped. Carrie yelled at me and I stopped.
Well, it's resurrected again, Commissioner.
Thank you.
For your hard work. But
Only took 12 years to come back to the top. So thank you.
We did notice that there were some controversies, and rightfully so. They should be discussed and properly explained without rushing through it, the Board of Education requests. You know, I just thought it should be a little bit more specific and that's where we are with it.
Thank you, Mr. Albini. Item number 19, interim superintendent's notification to the board. Oh, okay. Commissioner O'Brien.
I move to add an executive session to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to convene into executive session for discussion concerning the appointment, performance, employment, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second. Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are now in executive session.
It will be brief.
Oh,
my God, I'm so stiff. We haven't seen, and I came in half hour late.
Oh, this is nothing, guys. Come on, don't you?
Come on, we were here till 11, 12 o'clock. Come on, get some stamina.
No.
I don't have it this time. Okay, yep, go ahead.
I move to return to the regular order of business with the record reflecting there were no votes taken.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. I need an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? We are adjourned. Good evening. This is a special meeting of the Board of Education. We will start off with a silent prayer. Dr. Schwartz, do you have any remembrances?
Yeah, if you give me 1 minute, let me pull that up. I don't have. It's one thing that I failed to mention, I think, at the last meeting, but I just wanted to keep our thoughts and prayers on two things moving forward. Number one, on the upcoming school year, keep every student and staff member in your mind, but also, the tragedy that struck Texas last month. We didn't think about that as we went through our silent prayers, and we know a lot of students were at that summer camp, and I know that hit us all hard, so just keeping those families in our prayers as well.
Commissioner Lopez, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Anthony Ireland, Commissioner Latoya Ireland,
Here.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Lopez,
Present.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Present.
Commissioner Orso,
Here.
Commissioner Serrano Adorno, Commissioner Van Stone,
Present.
President Hernandez.
Here. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I actually had, when driving here tonight, I thought about removing every item, but I narrowed it down to 2. So if we could remove, please, item 4.9 and 4.10.
Excuse me?
Correct. Thank you.
I'm surprised you didn't say 4.1. Right?
Item 4.1, Committee on the Whole, request approval of a facility use agreement with the University of Connecticut at no cost for utilization of UConn Waterbury Robotics Institute space. 4.2, Committee on Finance, request approval of a service agreement with Rubicon West LLC for online curriculum and lesson planning, Atlas Management Software. 4.3, Committee on Finance, request approval of Amendment 2 of the agreement with Benchmark Education Company LLC, RFP number 7948 for core elementary reading and language art programs. 4.4, Committee on Finance, request approval of a service agreement with Curriculum Associates LLC for grades K through 8 mathematics instructional materials curriculum. 4.5, Committee on Finance, request approval of a professional service agreement with Schoolment, Inc. to provide digital advertising and marketing service for Waterbury's magnet schools. 4.6, Committee on Finance requests approval of an agreement with St. Vincent's Special Needs Center, Inc. for special educational services. 4.7, Committee on Finance requests approval of an agreement with ESS Northeast LLC, RFP 8298 for substitute teacher and paraprofessional staffing services. 4.8, Committee on Finance requests approval of Amendment 1 to the agreement with Ambassador Wheelchair Services Incorporated for transportation services for medically fragile students and/or students with disabilities and/or McKinney-Vento eligible students. 4.11, Committee on Building and School Facilities request approval of the SCG-042 review of final plans for the Bergen Education Complex partial roof replacement project 1510317RR. Commissioner O'Brien, may I have a motion?
Skip. I motion to approve the consent calendar items 4.1 through 4.8, skipping 4.9, 4.10, and also approving 4.11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Commissioner Orso.
Thought I was off duty. Committee on Finance requests approval of Amendment 1 to RFP 7211, Professional Services Agreement with Fryer Architects Incorporated for architectural and engineering design services for elevator additions at Driggs, Tinker, Generali, and Wilson Elementary Schools.
Second.
Commissioner Vanstone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. I talked a lot about this. When was the last time we had a workshop? Oh, an hour ago, half hour ago. And I have questions. I don't like no-cost extensions because it's not true. It has a bearing on the schools. And I have to keep Driggs in our conversation because as I pointed out in the workshop, Driggs was all over future work. They were on it like 6 times. And I have received calls saying, are we forgotten? So let's keep talking about Driggs and make sure these contracts happen. I can't believe that we're actually extending it to 2030. Wow, I probably won't even be here. All right, so that's, I just want to keep that going. And again, there's no such thing as a no-cost extension.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Commissioner Orso.
Item 4.10, I move that the Board of Education approve a professional services agreement, RFQ 8132, with the following engineering on-call services. AI Engineers Incorporated, CDM Smith Incorporated, Civil One Incorporated, HRP Associates Incorporated, M&J Engineering Incorporated, SLR International Corporation, Tig and Bond Incorporated, VN Engineers, Inc.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Van Stone.
You know, like I said, I almost took everything off the consent calendar. I actually pulled out my Robert's Rules book today and looked how I could actually have 4.10 removed from the agenda. I figured it wouldn't pass anyways, and it was too complicated, and we would have, we're almost 9 o'clock. I want to get to 10 like the old days.
Oh, jeez.
But, I have so many questions on 4.10 that there's no way to get answers. I'm hearing different reasons or this or that, but for us to have someone on call that specialty is dams and reservoirs, I can't do this. This is just beyond me comprehending even why we're doing this. Like I said, I looked it up to see about taking it off the agenda because it also goes back to the fact that we do a workshop, we take a breath, and we do a meeting, we vote on things. We need to stop doing that because there's questions I have, answers I'm not getting, and we have to do the process the way we're supposed to do it. And again, I'll bring up, if it means every week, then it means every week. But these special meetings to vote on things we just talked about, it defeats the whole purpose of the workshop. We should have just went to the special meeting because it doesn't matter. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Arlen.
I just have a question, because I just want to be clear for myself. Adding these companies to the list, there's no cost at all, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to thank you.
And just to go on that, Mr. Albini, or even Commissioner Orso, just because we approve these people doesn't necessarily mean we need to use these people. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it's just to have
The option to use them. And there will be a cost if we use them. There's no cost to do this, but if we use them, there's a cost.
Okay.
But at this point, no charge, no cost whatsoever.
All right. Are there any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you. I make a motion. Can I have a motion to
Make a motion to
adjourn?
adjourn?
No, that was already in consent. A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.
Good night.